Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Thursday night. It is time for Revolutionary Change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager, and how are you today, Jen?
I am good. I am doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. How do you think the president of the United States is doing right now?
Oh, I think he's doing marvelous. He was having an entire conversation with Teddy Roosevelt. So I don't know. He looked pretty happy to me.
Okay, do we seriously have to have this argument about how the name is pronounced? Everybody thinks it's Roosevelt. No, it's Roosevelt. It's like
I don't give a shit. Like, he's dead, and our president was having a conversation with him. So yes. There's that.
Okay? Yes, he was. Yes. Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, so. For those wondering why we don't actually stream on X, Twitter, it turns out that Elon wants you to pay for premium in order to stream onto the X system. We didn't used to have to do that, but now it's a prerequisite. So we guess we just don't really have a choice. So again, this is idiocracy. We have to pay for everything. And the president of the United States is convinced that he's having a conversation somehow, some way with a dead man, I guess. Well, here's what he did.
It was every day a president faces storms most people never see. Keep your nerve and remember the nation comes first. You get through. I know you know that feeling yourself.
I don't see it.
Well, I appreciate those words. Those words are fantastic. And I just want to say it's an honor to be with you today. We are making a little bit of a tour, some of the fantastic things you've done.
He's done a lot of great things, but not nearly as great as me. I know I'm a greater president.
He is talking to a hologram. Now, I mean, honestly, I honestly don't even know what to say about that.
I mean, honestly, sometimes you really can't tell for sure if he's doing it deliberately just because he knows that it's a P.T. Barnum exercise to always be in the news, no matter how stupid he sounds, no matter how pathetic.
No. He is a demented old fuck, and he wasn't that bright to begin with. Okay? So that's where we are.
Do you realize that
he went to his own university, so he was probably
excuse me, I'm talking. Could you believe that Teddy Roosevelt came back from the dead just to talk to me? I mean, am I not the greatest person who ever lived?
And your state fair is looking pretty pitiful too.
Did you see what also happened at the state fair today? Apparently there was like a concert they were trying to put on, and one of the extensions collapsed on the stage.
The whole thing looks so amateur. I have to tell you seriously, this event looks less professional than our launch event, our first campaign. Do you remember our launch, our first campaign?
Yes, we could with what we had. I mean, I think we did.
It was infinitely more professional than this thing, which is amazing to me because we were like on shoestring.
Okay, so I know before we bring Keaton and Russ in, I'm sure Russ remembers this one. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, when Trump University was actually a thing, he would run these ads on WOR, WABC in the morning, whether it was Imus in the morning or whatever else was on, that they would run the ads. And so the ad went exactly like this. You're going to learn how to be successful. You're going to learn how to make money. And once you enjoy it, you are going to be successful. I'm like, what the fuck did I just listen to? And this was 30 years ago.
Yeah, I've always thought he was a loser and a piece of shit. And I feel like I feel very validated in that I knew that back in the 80s, right? Like I really felt like I was on the cutting edge for non-New Yorkers. I realize that New Yorkers have a much longer history of hating Trump. I get that. But for non-New Yorkers, I really feel like I was kind of, cutting edge on thinking he was a piece of shit.
Well, let's ask the two New Yorkers what they think. They are the co-hosts of the Dissidence podcast. They have been kicking ass and taking names for a long time, and we are happy to also call them friends. Keaton Weiss, Russell Dobular, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Hey guys. Been a while.
Hey.
Yeah.
Russell, are you back in the continent? Are you
I am
stateside?
back. I am stateside, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I wasn't sure if you had like permanently left. I feel like you were gone. How long were you gone?
A lot of people told me I should, but I had the poor sense to return. I was gone for 4 months.
Wow.
I
How
assumed
awesome
he'd
was
be
that?
killed, so I didn't think he was coming back. I assumed he wouldn't make it. Yeah.
He always thinks that. You know when Keaton thought I was going to die, but it was a valid concern. Okay, so I've lived in Manhattan pretty much continuously since, I don't know, 2004, and more or less with a few detours since I got out of college. So what winds up happening if you live in Manhattan is you just don't drive.
Oh, that's
It
right.
just
I remember this.
it just doesn't come up. It just never
Right.
comes up.
Right.
Yeah.
So I literally, I'm pretty sure I hadn't driven in at least 12 years. And I drove cross country 5 times, but 12 years,
It's a
the
long time.
technology completely changed of cars. So I get in the car. I don't know how to start it.
Because it doesn't use a key.
He calls
Right.
me.
I
Up, how do I turn this
Dude,
on?
I swear to God, I was like Buck Rogers, man. I was like,
He says, how do I turn this on? Where's the blinker?
Yeah, I had to
I said, you're not
FaceTime
going to make it. You're
Keaton. I
going to
was
die.
like-
You're going to kill
He said-
yourself.
It was like, so clearly you're gonna die. I'm gonna look into a guest host for Sunday.
Yeah. It's a miracle.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, where's the key? Where's
I actually have a key again because I drive a truck. And so I actually got back to having a key and I actually really like it. I have a Chevy truck with a real key
Oh, yeah.
And-
That's good.
and it's very satisfying.
I mean, as a former juvenile delinquent car thief, I feel bad for these kids. How do they steal these cars?
Yeah, how do
now?
you steal a car now?
How do you steal a
Exactly.
car? Back
No.
in my day, all you needed was a slap hammer and a screwdriver.
That's
Right.
hell.
These kids, they just have it rough.
They have it
know.
rough, man. They have it rough. How are you supposed to learn a trade?
Yeah, exactly. You know, when I
Jen,
was
why don't
watching
you-
Trump talk to Teddy Roosevelt, it reminded me so much of this. There's this local attraction, I guess, in Newburgh, New York, where I grew up. Hudson Valley people might know this. It's an attraction called Egbert, which is a Christmas egg that a farm puts a festival on for Egbert every holiday season. It's a big Christmas thing where you go through this big Christmas festival with, the animals and the petting zoo and the lights and stuff. But at the end of it, you line up and you talk to an egg with a king's crown, and he's voiced by someone off stage like the Wizard of Oz. It's the weirdest thing. It's a Christmas egg, not Santa Claus. You talk to an egg at the end. And I grew up with the egg. Every year we go talk to the egg. But it didn't occur to me until a friend of ours visited a few years ago, and we're like, yeah, it's got to be hard to explain this local attraction to people, that they come and they talk to a Christmas egg. They wait an hour and a half in line to talk to a fake egg instead of Santa Claus or something. But it was the exact setup of Trump. You stand there, you present yourself well to the egg, you stand up straight, and then he knows you write your name so he knows your kid's name, and then he talks to your kids, and you talk back, and you have this contrived 5-minute conversation with a Christmas egg. Look up Google Egbert, Newburgh or New Windsor. I think it's technically a New Windsor, but Egbert Newburgh. That's some
so
fun.
bad.
That is Americana right there.
So did you get like hippies that would drop acid and go to talk to the egg?
I don't know.
What do you think started the whole tradition, Russell? Do you think that just,
Probably.
I mean, okay, if it were Easter, I'd say, okay, maybe I could see where somebody, but to think of an egg for Christmas,
Right.
somebody was on something.
That you're
Yeah,
gonna
somebody
talk
had to be on something.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's this Santa Claus. Let's do an egg. Let's have an egg.
Yes,
man.
an
We'll have
egg.
everybody wait online to talk to the egg.
See, here he is. Look, I have a picture of him.
Oh my God.
This is him.
Oh
the egg.
my God.
So you
That
wait
doesn't
2
look
hours.
like an
That
egg.
looks
then
like
when you get
something
to
out of Alice in Wonderland.
Oh my
Yeah,
God, that's
exactly.
so weird.
It's like that
And
old
he
Rudolph
sticks on the throne.
animation.
Do you ever
yeah,
have?
exactly.
Do you ever have little kids like start crying?
I
Not
would.
I
That-
remember.
Oh,
that
they
happened.
freak out
That
over
happened to
you.
me once when I was little. My mother took me to meet Ronald McDonald. Kids will get scared of clowns sometimes. I
Well,
start
imagine all
crying
the kids that are now
hysterically.
traumatized by eggs.
Mhm.
There's probably
Yeah,
a whole bunch of kids
probably.
that are terrified of eggs.
Yeah,
Russ, I
that's
can
where
tell you-
that's where these vegans are coming from.
Yeah.
Russ, do you remember the restaurant Triplets in Lower Manhattan? It was a long time ago. This was like in the 80s.
Triplets?
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Mm.
So they had these, they had like these Egyptian belly dancers, and they came by our table, and I like freaked out over it. I was young. I was like probably
Yeah,
6
yeah.
That's the only instance that I could think of where it's like, oh my God, I don't know what this is. This just seems kind of weird. And, you know, when you're watching Trump do this, honestly, I thought it was a setup where they specifically had like a speech that was given to him through a hologram, tailor-made for that moment. And it's like, no, he really thought that he was like having a conversation with Teddy Roosevelt. It's
Okay.
like,
You said this to me before, and I will reiterate. Okay. I don't care if they had it personalized. You say that as if, well, if it was personalized, then it would make sense for him to talk back to it. No, it doesn't matter if it's personalized. Like, what difference does that make?
Yeah.
well,
no.
it totally matters because they were talking to me and only me, and I'm a special person. Don't you understand?
It's like if you go to a mall Santa and you're like, it's an honor to meet you, sir.
Right.
It's a great honor to meet Santa Claus.
This is
You've
the
done a
real-
lot of great things over the years. You do a great job. You do a great job. You move a lot of
Russ,
product.
Russ, you said something recently that really stood out to me, and this was when I initially had reached out to Keaton. It was regarding the election results in New York and saying that we really had to take a big step backwards in order to take the steps forward that we needed to. And it was, frankly, it was the step that we really needed to take back in 20. Trump needed to win again and have them
2016.
exactly, just completely embarrassed and have this economy broken up now. But, you know, the tables have turned to such a degree that now you have Kamala Harris reaching out to Zohran saying, hey, we beat now?
Yeah.
So things have really shifted, and they're going to continue to shift. But I don't think people should be getting their hopes up too much, because I do think in terms of the Democratic Party label, you are limited to what you can accomplish primarily in urban parts of the United States. That's my opinion. I think that this is still, I still think Team Blue, or just the Democratic Party period, is going to be a lot harder to sell in places outside of the Los Angeleses and the Denvers and the Chicagos and the New Yorks of the world. What do you guys think?
Well, when you say the Democrats, do you mean this new crop of like insurgents who's
Yes.
coming up? Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I think for sure. I mean, I think one of the things that makes this freak out so funny is that you're talking about what? 3 or 4 DSA people, one out of what, a couple of hundred. So it really seems like an unnecessary panic to me. On the one hand, on the other hand, it's the writing on the wall. The real test here, this election cycle, this midterm cycle, is going to be the Michigan Senate race, I think, because it looks like Abdul El Sayed's going to win the primary. That looks pretty solid now. But that'll be the first time that anyone from this sort of populist left, sort of Bernie-like movement has actually gets a chance to compete in a general election in a swing district or a swing state. You know, Bernie never made the general election. AOC, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, they all won, primaries in deep blue areas. The same is true for this crop of DSA candidates, right? Denver, that's no contest in the general election for Melat Kiros. These 3 New Yorkers are going to cruise, but Abdul El Sayed is the real test case, and that I cannot overstate the stakes of that election for this sort of populist left movement, at least in the electoral space, because Michigan is an extremely diverse state, not just like racially and ethnically, but ideologically. The rural areas are very conservative. You also have a lot of Reagan Democrats there. You got a lot of the lunchbox Joe swing voter types. You have a lot of college progressives, but you also have, of course, a lot of Arabs and Muslims for whom the Israel-Palestine issue is paramount. That's arguably why Kamala lost the state, is because Dearborn went so heavily to Jill Stein as opposed to Kamala Harris. So you have in Michigan a real test case where if El Sayed wins, you have a real proof of concept there. You could say, all right, we won Michigan. We proved that we can win in a swing state with this type of candidate. If he loses, which I think is possible, not likely given all the trajectories of this year, but it is possible that he loses. And if he loses that general election, you are going to have a very difficult time getting any of these type of candidates through swing district or swing state primaries or presidential primaries, because they're going to be able to point to this one test of, okay, your guy got crushed in a general election in a swing state. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think it's possible, but I think that is really the high stakes contest of this year. That's not to negate the importance of these primary wins that we've just seen. I think they're very important, but that Michigan race is the big one. That's the must-have.
Go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely correct. And I think, and Russ, you can piggyback on this. I don't think it's going to work against Plattner in Maine, even though I think the Democratic establishment is going to do everything in their capacity to kneecap him, but it's not working because Plattner really is Maine. Like, he really is that Northern New England, type of guy. Like, he really embodies that region. And obviously Susan Collins is a dinosaur.
That's
like
what we call the Cujo vote up there.
Cujo. Whereas in Michigan, which is definitely a swing state, and you've got El Sayed, who is a Muslim, and I am also not convinced that whether it's McMorrow, who is very ambitious, and so is Stevens, that the Democratic establishment is not going to work overtime behind the scenes to get Rogers elected if Sayed is the nominee. Do you think that's what's going to happen as well?
I think it's definitely possible. Oh, go ahead, Russ.
I mean, in terms of the dynamics of these particular local races, I'm honestly not well versed enough in it to comment. In terms of the overall trajectory, this is what a lot of us said was going to happen 10 years ago, that this would happen in 10 years. That was exactly the number I went with. Like, when the whole Bernie schism happened, I say, yeah, in 10 years, you're going to have enough. And look, man, I don't want to give you problems with our audience. I'm not saying all boomers, but the statistical evidence is the statistical evidence, right? You need
we're
a
safe,
certain
okay? We're look, between
it's
you
me
and me,
saying
Russ,
it, right?
No, but we're only as high as Gen X here because of you and me, so we're safe. We could call out the boomers.
That's it. Hey, man, if I call out Gen X all the time.
Oh yeah, we are the coolest. But we're the coolest.
I always say with boomers who melt down about that, you are playing to all the negative stereotypes of the boomers being completely self-absorbed. I have gone on monologues where I'm spending 15 minutes exoriating Gen X, a generation I am a member of, and 5 minutes on the boomers. We don't get one comment from Xers.
Because Gen X,
but you'll get like 10 boomers.
That's why, because we don't give a shit.
I think not. It's not just that we don't give a shit. It's that they were the center of society's attention for their entire lives. And they don't know how to handle the attention, not only shifting away from them, but the narrative turning negative against them. And that is why they freak out.
We know that there's cool boomers. My parents are actually
Of course, you're watching us, right? So, but there's what I don't get. Like, why would you assume you're included in the group? Or, like, for me, if I look statistically at Xers are like this, I'm not like, no, we're not. I'm not like that. Okay, so you're not. Yeah, I'm not like that. But the numbers are the numbers, man. So we knew 10 years ago a certain number of that generation was going to have to shuffle off this mortal coil before you could really make a dent in the stranglehold on the culture that generation and the establishment that it propped up represented. So now we're getting there. Yeah. Now, I also felt, even back then 10 years ago, by the time that happens, it's too late. That Bernie was a Hail Mary pass for a country that was on a very bad trajectory. And if you continued on that trajectory for the time it was going to take for that demographic shift to not only take place, but for the economic benefits of supporting this system to degrade to the point that the libs would stop coming out to vote for it in sufficient numbers to outnumber the progressives who will vote against it. It took 10 years. We got here. The economic situation is bad enough for the PMCs. They're scared enough of the future. Although they'll never say it openly, they know they fucked up. They know they shouldn't have shut down the progressives and the left. They know, especially because, and this is what broke the libs, Trump came back a second time. That's what finally did it. That's what finally did it. The first time of Maddow telling them that Hillary's going to take Texas, that didn't do it. That didn't do it. It took E. Jean Carroll and all the lawfare and being so assured that Trump could never, ever come back. And when he did, finally, what they should have figured out 10 years ago, they finally figured out. Now, one interesting aspect, I don't know about Colorado. I know in New York, the turnout was very low. And that kind of reaffirms what I believe is happening. The libs are not going to come out and vote for these candidates, but you broke them to the point that they're demoralized enough not to vote at all. That's why I think you see this combination of these candidates winning with low turnout. The low turnout is the libs aren't going to go vote for the Republican, but they finally fucking realize, Dan Goldman, maybe we shouldn't vote for Dan Goldman. And they're also mad at Dan Goldman's whole cohort because clearly they don't know what they're doing. So I think the libs are finally staying home. It's a combination of those things.
Well, good. Yeah. We don't want them to come out. Okay. We don't need them. We've had enough of them. They're not really bringing anything new. So,
and we also can take some solace in the fact that, one of the synergies that our two channels have respectively is we see right through AOC, what she's been doing, what she's been trying to do. AOC would never in a million fucking years give a victory speech like Kiros gave in Denver the other night.
She's not capable.
I want to tell you something about why this campaign matters, because it matters for what comes next. When I wrote a letter defending students' rights to protest the genocide in Gaza, my law firm told me, take it down or you're fired. I didn't flinch because I stood by every word, and I always will. But I know that will not be the only moment where those in power will tell me to change my tune, to not rock the boat. That seems to happen a lot in Congress. But here in Denver, we stand by our values and we stand with our community. We are days away from embarking on the 250th anniversary of the founding of this country. I've been thinking a lot about what that means. The promise is made, the promise is unfulfilled, that this country belongs to everyone who loves it and what it stands for, not just the people born here, not just the people who look a certain way, but everyone who believes that democracy is worth defending and that every person is deserving of dignity.
Alex had that opportunity, but she was never capable of really taking it. She really wasn't, for a lot of reasons, not the least of which, quite honestly, and I've said it before, she's not that bright. Okay. Now, this woman, and I don't know very much about her, but she's clearly bright. The little bit that I've seen of her, she seems to know some shit. Alex can't have a conversation off the cuff. Alex can't function in that kind of world. She's not a revolutionary. She has no interest in leading anything. And it's she should be embarrassed, but she's not, because I don't think she's bright enough to be.
I also think this crop of candidates here and this crop of primary victors and soon to be Congress people, they have a lot more to live up to than the squad did. The squad was running essentially on the Bernie platform, which is, hey, we're going to introduce a better healthcare plan than the moderates. This crop of candidates, this moment here is born of a Holocaust and the fact that the party aided and abetted a Holocaust. And they are being sent there to disrupt and to gum up the works and to wield whatever power they have to, try to suspend or stop aid to this rogue terrorist state that just committed a Holocaust. Like, you have a lot more riding on your success than the Squad did, because the Squad was, coming into office. Okay, Trump is president. Bernie just got crushed. The focus was very much on domestic policy, none of which was going to be legislated into law anyway under Donald Trump. And then, of course, they had the opportunity to force the vote, and they didn't. And then once they caved on Build Back Better, that was really the end of our faith that they were going to do anything close to what they campaigned on. The stakes are a lot higher here. I think they have a lot bigger shoes to fill here. I get the sense that they understand that. You listen to a speech like that, there's a pretty good understanding of why she beat a 30-year incumbent. I don't think you beat a 30-year incumbent by 14 points because your healthcare policy is more progressive. I think you beat a 30-year incumbent by 14 points because they can't disavow a genocide, and you can. It just feels like things are a lot more dramatic now for good reason. We're in much more severe times than we were 8 years ago.
I was out campaigning for AOC when she was a bartender. And that was part of the whole Bernie appeal. He made the whole pitch essentially to do what the Republicans did after Goldwater, right? That you're going to go take over the local school boards and you're going to work your way up through lower offices. And, I had dinner with Jimmy and Steph the other night. And, it's one of the strange things about having come into the space to talk to somebody who actually was part of your thinking back then. And, you're given the opportunity to talk to that person about it now. I was like, yeah, Jimmy, man, you were the only one who was really saying Sanders is sheepdogging people. Nobody else, certainly with his platform, was willing to say that at that time when he was basically pitching what became the Squad. And I say, I told my wife at the time, because we both used to watch Jimmy, I say, he could be right. I'm not going to say he's wrong. I just have to leave it all on the field. I have to. I can't feel like I did everything I could to work within the system yet. So, yeah, that's why I was out there for her. I think a lot of people think she was always like a CIA op or a plant. I don't really buy that, particularly because of the Iron Dome vote. I personally believe that whatever Pelosi said to her in that moment broke her. She was never the same. Remember, up to that point, she's getting very hostile interviews from the media. She's doing the sit-ins in Pelosi's office. She's a thorn in their side. And I don't know. I think Pelosi basically whispered in her ear, "I will complete your training." And that was it. That was it. She was never the same. She broke her.
I figured they made her an offer she couldn't refuse.
I think they also made a threat that she couldn't resist.
Well, isn't that the same thing, really?
Well, there's the carrot and the stick. Yeah. I think whatever Pelosi said to her that day that got her not to vote against the Iron Dome, she was never the same after that. And I think once you go down that road, one step leads to another, and eventually you become their creature. Like you become, at first, it might be reluctantly, but after a while, there are a lot of benefits to that. And you just become like, look, you have a lot of people who was it? John Conyers, who had been like a legendary civil rights leader who then went and lied about having met Hillary during the civil rights movement. Was that him? Was it Conyers?
No, that wasn't Conyers. That was Lewis.
It was
right?
Lewis. It was John Lewis. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you look at John Lewis. You can't find somebody who had a more heroic background. and they turned him into their creature, right? Like over time, once you start to make those compromises,
James Clyburn too.
James Clyburn. After a while, it's not an act anymore. It might start out an act, but you become that. And I think it's easy to justify it by saying, don't blame the player, blame the game. At least I'm trying to do some good within a corrupt system. I think that's the story they tell themselves. But I don't think she started out that way.
No, I agree. But I think she's enamored with the life. I think that is a huge component.
That's it. Sure. Well, that's the carrot.
I mean, and not only that, but if you know anybody, as I've known people who are in Congress, I mean, just to be there is an incredible experience. Imagine being like a celebrity and a politician. And that's what she is. So it feeds the ego. She gets a lot out of it, and people are not going to change. And that's why she's working tirelessly for a ceasefire is never going to go away as far as I'm concerned. Like, that should stick with her for the rest of her life, because Lord knows if she had stood up 2 years ago, how many lives could have been saved if she actually did. It's almost 2 years now. That's how long ago it was that she got on that stage and said that bullshit to the rest of the country. And yet at the same time, this is happening right now. We have to face this from suppressed news. Israel is preparing to begin moving Palestinians into concentration camps in Gaza within weeks. According to Israel Hayom, unarmed civilians would be directed into a fenced camp in Tel Al-Sultan near Rafah, while a foreign force operating under the Trump administration's Board of Peace, as in BORED, polices the area from a newly built base. The plan is described as a pincer movement. Israel expanded its military control over Gaza while the Palestinian population is concentrated into controlled enclaves, leaving Hamas without a population, territory, or resources. Officials say, Colin, please. Officials say the camps will receive aid and caravans, of course they will, but not the concrete needed to rebuild Gaza. So that's the future right there for what they're going to do. Jen, you said there would be 2 million people dead in the desert. They're certainly doing everything in their capacity to make sure that that's what happens.
Yeah, well, look at this. As if Gaza wasn't already a concentration camp. I mean, I'm just out of things to say. I honestly never thought I would really be out of things to say about this, but I'm just, I don't know. I have nothing.
I don't know. Something that I really took away from Asia, and there's there's actually a lot of science to back this up. We in the West have been conditioned to be far more rapacious and bloodthirsty and psychopathic than is part of our evolutionary inheritance, as we're often told. Like, well, this is human nature. All cultures are like that. No, they're not. No, they're not. People, there is, even among primates. I'm dropping this guy's, I'm promoting this guy's channel all day. This guy better give me a cut. All right. So there's a channel I started watching. He's very good. Barry's Economics. And he introduces a lot of science that reflects class orientation and how we get that way. And he talked about a study of baboons where the bolder baboons would go get the food first. So there was some poisoned food that killed off the alpha males. And what wound up happening with this particular tribe of baboons is once you got rid of the really aggressive baboons, they wound up having a much more peaceful kind of a society. They fought a lot less. They were a lot more cooperative and friendly with each other. But what was really interesting was it continued after that generation died off. It became the culture of that particular group of baboons, to the point that it's as common among a lot of different animal species. The young males will often leave their own group and go become part of another group. So apparently baboons do that. And even when the outsiders would come, they'd be reconditioned to be more peaceful than is normal among baboons. Like usually with a new member, they wouldn't get groomed for about 40 days for the other baboons to groom you. These baboons would do it in 4 days. So among them, they just became this, they developed a culture where they're more peaceful. That actually is what I saw when I went outside the West. Like, yeah, man, the way that we behave is not normal. It's really not normal. People are really not like that. And the argument that this is inherent to human nature, it can be under certain circumstances, sure. It's our default. And we have been trained to think that that is just all cultures are like that.
Right.
And it's very easy to do with Americans because they tend not to travel, particularly beyond the West, particularly outside of Western societies. And America is really the juiced up freak show of the lot. Like even when you go over to Europe, they're generally not as crazy. I will say I don't know what it is.
They're not as armed. They're not as armed.
They're not as armed. They're not as aggressive. They're not the whole way that we have conversation would be unintelligible in at least the parts of Asia I travel to. It would just be unintelligible. Like the kind of where you see like Nancy Mace. I believe that these people should be hung. Agree or disagree? Nobody acts like that. Anywhere else in the world, it would be considered you're mentally ill. Like just nobody acts like that.
Us and Ziohel.
Israel.
That's it.
Right.
We're the two countries that act like that.
Right. Well, England somewhat. That's why I say you see it more in Anglophone countries. I don't know why that is. But it's like the further you get away from America, the less like that people are. I could say throughout Southeast Asia, China, people's default is to be friendly, cooperative, and non-aggressive. That is how people act towards each other. The way we act is not normal. What's that?
And keep in mind that one of the other things that is a huge thing, and at the beginning of the year, for the first time, I traveled across the pond, as it's called, and I went to Ireland, and my experience there is, it's a blue collar culture. There's no two ways about it. But the quality of the food, quality of the air, the quality of the transportation, the fact that you can get to places, the fact that the society in general cares for each other,
right,
in a way that you don't see in the States, I think is tantamount of importance. And Keaton, I definitely want you to hop in here. I think one of the things that is, you cannot deny this at this point. I think this country deliberately poisons its people, whether it's through the air, whether it's through its food, whether it's through, especially in the great state of Florida that I live in, overt sun exposure, something in the water down here as well.
Data centers.
Data centers.
How about Flint?
Aside,
Does
I think
Flint
that
have clean water? Flint doesn't have clean water yet.
Yeah, and that's all over the place. And I do think that, I'm not saying it's mental retardation, but there is something to be said for the diminishing cognitive capabilities of our culture that clearly have diminished over the past 2 or 3 generations. It's too obvious at this point.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always shocking to me when something goes right here. Always, always. I mean, since honestly, I mean, my, I came of age during the War on Terror years, right? 9/11. I was, what was I, 14 going on 15 at the time. And, watching George Bush get reelected with a majority vote in 2004 was a scarring experience, in the sense that from that point on, I've never trusted the American people to get anything right, ever. I mean, I could not believe it. As a teenager, I missed that election by about a month because I'm a December baby, and so I was 17 on election day 2004, so I couldn't vote. I just could not, for the life of me, believe that a majority of voters would walk in and vote for the guy who clearly invaded the wrong country on purpose based on total bullshit. At the time, I was still blue-pilled enough to think that the Afghanistan war made sense because, well, the terrorists
Right.
came from there, right?
Right.
I kinda
That
thought
one's
9/11
logical. That one
Right.
makes sense.
That one
but
seems
Iraq,
to me
no.
at the time, right, at the time. And by at the time, I shouldn't even say in 2004. I should say in 2002, the Afghanistan war made sense. As soon as they started talking about going to war with Iraq, I became of the opinion that 9/11 was more or less an inside job. So I was kind of red pilled by the time 2004 came along, but still, be that as it may, and even given, John Kerry's horrible record on the Iraq war itself, I was for it before I was against it, blah, blah, blah. It still seems just so shocking to me that however many tens of millions of people, I forget what the count was, but how can you reelect George W. Bush after that? And so from then on, I've always had this assumption, my default assumption is that if Americans have to choose the right way or the wrong way, they're going to choose the wrong way. And it always seems like a miracle when they don't. And on occasion, they haven't. All right, on occasion, they have gotten things right. But that always seems like a real long shot.
Well, I actually disagree on this ground. And listen, don't ever underestimate or misunderestimate what the American people are capable of doing when given the opportunity.
Yeah.
They'll vote for a shit kicker like me, even though I'm a total Nepo baby CIA plant, if there ever was one.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Oh my God. Can we please address the fact that he even pretends to have a Texas accent?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, that's kind of like Trump. Like Trump sounds like a guy from a bar in Queens because his dad would make him go on the construction sites, and he picked it up off those guys. George Bush, from what I read, he picked that up off the roughnecks and the oil workers out in West Texas, and he learned to affect it just like Donald Trump did. Donald Trump learned to affect this working class demeanor. That's part of why he was able to sell himself that way to working class people, just like George Bush, because he doesn't have the affectations of Bush the First, who was clearly a patrician. His son learned how to shapeshift into a fake working class guy.
And we cannot underestimate what it was like specifically for Keaton and I, because Keaton was in high school. I was in my second or third year of college, and listening to people say, "Oh, I definitely vote for Bush. I'm that guy. I definitely want to have a beer with him." Like, you want to have a beer with the fucking leader of the free world?
Yeah.
Like, this is ridiculous.
Well, the fact that they were all so psyoped into that election becoming a referendum on gay marriage too, like out of nowhere, they forced this gay marriage question into the conversation.
Dude,
you got fucking wars going on left and right. You're talking about gay marriage.
Yeah. Hillary and Obama sitting there being like, "I don't believe in gay marriage."
No, I know, but it's funny. Like 2 years after 9/11, fucking World Trade Center comes down. You're involved in 2 wars. One of them seems pretty obvious to be the wrong one. And now you guys are arguing over gay marriage all of a sudden because Karl Rove wants you to argue over gay. Like, it was just, how stupid is this country? That was my impression. Like, as a teenager, I could not believe how fucking stupid this place was, that you're arguing over this at this time with this going on. Because the other thing about it too is, and Peter, you could probably sympathize here a bit too. We were both kind of a generation. We grew up in this we kind of came up in this very weird sort of respite, which was the 90s, right? Which was the end of history, is the right here, right now. We learned about war as if war was a thing of history, whereas every other generation learns about war as a fact of life. But we learned of war as a thing of history. So to see these wars break out and to see a war come to our soil with this massive attack, it was really shocking in ways to us that probably didn't hit the exact same to other generations who kind of grew up with this threat of violence over them. So for me to see that going on and then to see the country just get distracted like a cat to this gay marriage debate was just like, what the fuck is this place, man? Holy shit. Holy shit. And I've felt that way ever since. I really have.
Which is why we're in a very unique period here where friend of both respective shows, Brianna Joy Gray, said the other day that the left continuing to tap dance with the Democratic Party, full stop, like not even entertaining the idea of legitimately trying to build out a third-party operation is going to lead to somebody on the populist right building out a third-party operation. And of course, if Tucker Carlson is the
mayonnaise man.
Yeah, if anybody's going to lead it, do not underestimate how far somebody like Tucker Carlson could actually take this. What do you guys see ultimately unfolding here?
Nothing. I think Carlson's going to wind up backing J.D. Vance, and that's going to be the end of that. I also think, and we've given Tucker a lot of positive coverage, and we'll continue to when he deserves it. Don't forget, Tucker Carlson went, I don't know, to Nicaragua like you do when you're in college during the middle of Iran-Contra, and his father was a CIA operative, and, he just went to Nicaragua, like you do. Don't forget, he lied about knowing that his father was in the CIA. So who knows what's going on with Tucker Carlson? Certainly more than meets the eye. So I think it's nonsense.
Yeah, we covered this earlier on our show. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene has talked about this too, and look, I do think they have a lot of pull. I think, unfortunately, the organizational lift of getting a third party off the ground and viable is just so heavy. You look at these opinion polls, right, about how, when the bottom 90% of Americans want a policy, they don't get it. And when the top, 1% wants a policy, they usually get it. And we see that as a real indictment of democracy, quote unquote, which of course it is. But this is also an illustration of how capitalism really perverts democracy, because part of the reason why the wealthy get their way and the masses don't is because the wealthy have the resources to build out an organization, right? They either have time to pound the pavement themselves, or more often than that, they have the resources to hire people to do it, right? So it's not all about stuffing money in the politicians' pockets, although we know that plays a big role. But it's also about organizing around the things you want, and the masses tend to not have the time, the resources, or the wherewithal, just the overall bandwidth to do the same thing. So when you see, we covered this on the show earlier, overwhelming majorities of Americans want a third party. Overwhelming, 60 plus. But very few Americans vote third party. And that's because there is just not the organizational capacity to launch one right now. Now, of course, as a long-term project, and this is exactly word for word, basically what Marjorie Taylor Greene told Piers Morgan, that's not something you do in 1 or 2 cycles. That's something you build out long-term. In the interim, I hope that guys like Tucker can influence Republican politics for the better. I fear that, look, as soon as J.D. Vance started making the rounds talking about this MOU, I sensed the PSYOP underway to sanitize J.D. Vance and position him as the voice of dissent within the administration who tried to stop the war.
Yeah.
And so Vance, and Tucker,
that's where they're going.
And Tucker seemed to buy that, at least to an extent. I hope that if people like Tucker and Marjorie Taylor Greene do exert some influence in politics next cycle, it's not going to be with their third party. It's going to be within the GOP. If there is any kind of opening there, at which point, getting a Thomas Massie type person to the nomination would be amazing, because look, I'm not a Democrat. I have no loyalty to the Democratic Party whatsoever. You need here, what you need here is a leader who can disrupt the Palantir prison state that's being built around us. And as much as I disagree with Thomas Massie on a lot of things, I trust him to do that, frankly, more than I trust Gavin Newsom to do that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it doesn't matter to me where this comes from.
Yeah.
What you need is a leader who actually is willing to throw down for quaint things like, I don't know, the Constitution or something. Like, you actually do need like a constitutionalist movement. You need a kind of liberty movement now. As much as I would like to see that paired with economic populism as opposed to like a Massey type libertarianism, paramount is a liberty-based movement, and of course, hand in hand with that is a peace movement, right? Upholding civil liberties here and getting our boot off the neck of the rest of the world. Those are priorities. I won't even say 1 and 2. Those together are the priority for these next couple of years. And I think whoever is best positioned to do that in whatever party they have to use to get there is who needs to be backed.
Yeah,
And
I
I
agree.
think-
I would vote for Massey for that too. He's the only person that I think would actually stand up to any oligarchic tentacles at all.
Right.
And yeah, I disagree with him on probably 90% of policy. But I would trust him way before I would trust Gavin Newsom.
Right.
I mean, no question. And we all mutually share a like for one particularly non-duopoly candidate, yes?
Yes. And this is where we conclude for the evening. One of the things that brings us together, and I do agree with you, Keaton, and Russ, I'm sure you have a similar sentiment regarding a third party. The fact of the matter is there are certain tools within the system that you can use to support independent candidates.
Oh,
In
sure.
certain places. In
Of course.
certain
Yeah.
places.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes. And so Washington State is one of truly 4 states in the union that has what is considered the jungle primary, has a system in which if you are able to build an infrastructure, you don't really need to be in one of the 2 major parties. You just
Right.
need to be able to
Right.
get to the general election.
Right. You
Yeah.
need to win second place. Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. And so Kshama Sawant is a mutual friend, an incredible leader. If anybody is currently in the position to lead a third party, not even a third party movement, just an independent movement outside of the 2-party duopoly, she is the one to do it. And she is not only running for Congress as an independent, she is doing it against one of the absolute, I mean, if you want to pick a congressperson who's worse than Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Adam Smith is probably that guy. He's been there for 30 years, and he is the author of Section 224, which is to merge the U.S. and Israeli armies together as one. Now this motherfucker apparently earlier today said that he no longer supports this. And listen, Cenk Uygur.
You're kidding.
Yeah, no, he came out against it now. That's what Cenk Uygur reported. Yeah.
So Cenk, unfortunately,
How fast is that? That must be a world record from author of a bill to
maybe this isn't
basically
such a good
turning
idea.
against the bill. That's
Exactly.
got to be a record.
That's
So-
incredible.
So Cenk gives credit to Ro Khanna. And it's like, listen, that doesn't mean that you can't give Ro credit. But if you think for one fucking second that the reason he switched was because of Ro Khanna and not Kshama Sawant, you're out of your mind.
Of course.
Exactly.
Of course, because he's got the election. Of course, 100%. Yeah.
Got to protect that Democratic establishment. And with that being said, as you guys know, we started a PAC. We raised some money, modest amount, but we are going to put it to good use. You are going to be the first to see it, as is our audience. This is what our money is being put towards first in the primary.
A hot dog truck?
That's a good guess. Not quite. Not quite. No, we are officially doing.
Those are billboards.
A
There's
billboard
billboards in
for Kshama
Shama's
Sawant.
district.
Oh, there you go. Look
Oh,
at that.
nice. Nice.
Yep.
This is going to go up in. I did a lot of research on this. This is going to go up in the 4 most highly trafficked areas in the district. It will run every minute for 8 seconds between now and the election, which is August 4th.
Nice. And that's in the district, obviously.
Correct.
Correct.
All right, cool.
So-
Look at
I mean,
that.
for that, you probably could have bought a hot dog truck and put the sign on the side.
Well,
And you
Then
know
you
what?
would have
That
still
would
had
only
the
be
hot
worth
dog
it,
truck.
Russ, that's only worth it if you're driving the hot dog truck. If you were
Yeah.
going to drive the hot dog truck, then I would consider that.
yeah, but then you'd have no hot dogs.
Well, I don't eat hot dogs anyway, but
No,
know.
neither do I.
Well,
Well,
you
but
should
then,
pitch this. You
but
should
then you
pitch
could
this
have
to-
like a based hot dog truck in Seattle year round.
Pitch it to Kshama. She stands there and sells hot dogs at the truck.
Yeah.
That's how she campaigns.
That's
Yeah.
it.
So
Everyone likes
Kshama-
hot dogs.
Shama obviously has not seen this. Nobody on her campaign
Right.
has
They're
seen
not
this.
allowed to coordinate with you guys, right? That's a
No,
legal
and
thing.
we haven't. We haven't. So this is a revolutionary change PAC. And yeah, we're coming to Seattle.
Awesome. Oh, so that wouldn't work then. She couldn't sell the hot dogs because that would be a violation,
Ah,
right?
right. That
Because
would
she
be
can't.
coordinating with the
Yeah.
pack.
All right. Never mind. Just a thought, just
Yeah.
We thought, we
that's why
thought
you guys are the
this-
pros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we thought, it's 8 seconds. You got to be snappy about this. It's got to be catchy. What is something that's tangible you can point to? She is the person. I mean, we could have went after Amazon. We could have done that. But I'm
No,
like,
this is what people want to know. You have 3 seconds. Kshama Sawant, we have the nation's highest minimum wage. That's it. That's the thing. It's all the economy. It's the economy, stupid.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Kshama that's made her so effective, and I think this is something that I think more broadly, and not just the left, but I think anybody trying to organize sort of independent political movements, is that, Kshama has, she's rooted in theory, right? I mean, she is a revolutionary socialist. That's what she calls herself. She's not shy about that. But she doesn't lead with theory. She leads with policy, and she puts wins on the board every step of the way. That's very important, because if all you do is talk theory till you're blue in the face, you lose people. You actually have to put results on the board and actually have to improve people's lives, which she, of course, has time after time. In Seattle, against, pretty steep odds. I mean, Seattle's not New York. It doesn't have Wall Street, but it has Amazon, it has Microsoft, and it has Starbucks. So a lot of corporate power in Seattle. Not the easiest place to do this. Yeah.
You forgot a very important MIC mega corporation. Well, I don't know how much they still consider it home. It's probably South Carolina now, but Boeing.
Algerian, no, she's not DSA. She's not a democratic socialist. She's a revolutionary socialist. She doesn't affiliate with the Democrats. And DSA is anyway. Anywho.
We just put to rest any thought that the DSA is ever going to support. You see, this is the thing.
No.
If you really want to call them out and you really want to prove how attaching yourself at the hip to one of the two major parties renders you basically dickless after a while, they will not come out and support Kshama Sawant. That's not going to happen.
Well, they won't support Jose Vega either.
Sure.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I've seen a DSA video, it's basically the Million White Kids March. I do think that they're growing visibility, and this is a big debate that has erupted now with the election of these candidates who so much are saying yes to so much of what the kind of post-duopoly left has wanted. And I think it's very confusing for a lot of people. So what do you do? Do you support a Democrat? Now, to me, being absolutely committed to that, I've compared it to the old, probably neither of you will remember this, although Peter might, the He-Man Woman Haters Club on the Little Rascals.
I know what He-Man Women Haters Club, and I knew of that before that.
Before that? Well, that, apparently they included it in the movie, too. They included
First of all, I don't even know what movie you're talking about, but when I was
the Little Rascals. It's very the He-Man Woman Haters Club. Like, that's it. We've committed to this, and that's what we got to do. So what do you do when people who are saying yes to everything that you want start winning within a system that, let's face it, is the only path to actual political power in this country? Do you throw a tantrum about it? Do you actually go so far as to try to thwart those people? Do you try to cast all of their successes as losses because they're gonna sell us out eventually? Come on, man. Like, what are you trying to do? I feel like at that point, you have lost sight of the purpose of activism. You're actually trying to stop a genocide. It doesn't really matter how you get there. I don't care. Yeah, I'll support Marjorie Taylor Greene's efforts. I'll support Tucker Carlson's efforts. I'll support Candace Owens. And of course, I'll support these DSA candidates who are running as Democrats. Now, as far as the DSA goes, I suspect that as it gets more popular, it will become less of a educated white kids club. I do see it as probably a transitional stage to more radical politics. And what I always say to people who are leftier than the DSA, which you don't have to go too far to get further than that. You better hope these guys succeed, because in the minds of the public, they're the left, guys. Mamdani's the left. You can hate him all you want. If that guy goes down, good freaking luck selling your further left ideas. If they get the perception that his ideas created a hellscape in New York, if they're able to create that perception, they're not going to listen to you. So it is in your interest not to tear this guy down. That does not mean don't criticize where he's wrong. Yeah, you should speak out about what he said about Venezuela and Cuba, sure, but also support socialist policies that he introduces that you believe in, because you desperately need those to succeed. You really do, because the alternative is winning. The alternative, right-wing fascist fall populism, is winning. You get a charismatic, talented guy who is representing himself as left and socialist, and the public is watching what he's doing. Pray that that guy succeeds if you want something more left than that.
Right.
Well, could we conclude on this note? The idea that they are they've run out of ideas. They don't know how to hit him. He is Jen says it all the time. He's Obama level smooth. Like he's that good.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And when you combine that with a truly humanitarian, selfless public servant, you really have something special here that you hope you can bottle up. And the idea, anybody who knows anything about Con Edison ever living in New York, and this problem that happens when there are these massive heat waves, and this is activism that these dumb shits get their pennies in a bunch about. Zohran put out a message. Colin, can you please pull it up on social?
We covered this today.
You guys, it's hotter in New York than it is right now where I am in Georgia.
Yeah, but the thermostat is 78 degrees. That's what he asked people to do.
Right, which is a standard.
Yeah,
it's a standard. That's the
Not in
number
my
they
house.
always put out.
Should be 75. It's too high. It's
Not
too
here.
High.
Hell no.
If he ain't too high, it's too high.
and then you get all of these people all over the place. All of these wannabe like influencers and stuff. Like, I'm going to drop my thing to 62 degrees, and I'm thinking, oh, come on. Like, is this all you've got? This is what you're going to do. But that, to me, shows you that Zohran is here to stay. His influence is legit, and I hope he uses it for good. And I also hope that if he really is playing for keeps, he's going to put Jeffries exactly where he belongs, and that is, you're going to do it, but you're going to do it our way. And if you don't do it our way, see what just happened in your next. And that's how you got to play it, pure and simple. Final thoughts before you guys go.
Well, one thing, just to put Zohran in perspective, we're not used to thinking in these terms because we've had this sort of back and forth in the American presidency, 4 years Trump, 4 years Biden, now 4 years Trump, then 4 years somebody else. Zohran is half a year into what's certainly going to be an 8-year tenure. So he's got 7.5 years left. I mean, this guy is like not even done throwing his warm-ups. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a long way to go.
Right.
Man.
And then
so
he'll
it's
probably, since he can't be president, he's probably going to go for governor. I would
That's
imagine.
what I said.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
He's got 15.5 years left.
Here's hoping. Yeah. Guys, the links are in the description. If you are not currently subscribed to Do Dissidence, you better get over there and do it. And for any of the Do Dissidence people, throw some love our way. You guys get much bigger numbers on the lives than we do.
Hit the sub button over here. If you're here.
You guys are doing well.
You guys are rocking, though. You guys are crushing.
Yeah, you're kicking ass.
You know what? Just like you guys do it, we wouldn't change it. And we wouldn't have it any other way. And let's keep collaborating, keep kicking butt and taking names. We appreciate all that you guys do. And obviously, it was a pleasure having you both on tonight.
Great.
Thank you very
much. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Well, if you think that was a good start, and I think
it's a very big show tonight. This is a whole fancy show tonight. We got a whole thing going on.
We're going old school tonight.
Well, it is old school. It is. We used to always, yeah.
Well, when we first started out, we made it a point to always have guests, and sometimes we would go 2-4 in a night. And tonight we are going a 2-4. Only tonight we're being graced with the presence of a former and hopefully soon to be Congresswoman again, because Lord knows when we really get into this, people will understand why. The thing that I think a lot of people lose sight of in politics is that strategy is everything. Like it really is.
Strategy is everything. Okay. And if you don't have a smart strategy, it doesn't matter how good your candidate is. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. So these are things that have to be like figured out. And we have talked before about what is going on down in South Florida, how Debbie Wasserman Schultz is running for Congress in a district that she doesn't live in, and that is a majority minority district. And
Yes.
so, and the people of that district do not want her. But there is a problem in that there's a few other people. Well, there's people that are running that are going to end up creating a situation potentially where Debbie gets in. Exactly. And we can't have that.
Strategery. That's a great, it's a George W. Bush reference from way back in the day.
And so we have talked about this, and we are going to talk it out with our friend Sheila.
Yes, we are. She is the former, temporarily, congressional representative of Florida's 20th congressional district. Sheila, can you hear us okay?
Yeah.
Thumbs up. Okay. So that's good. Isn't it? I get the graphics and you don't. I think that's very funny. So she is a 3-time congressional representative of Florida's 20th congressional district. Hopefully we'll make it 4 and we can retire Wasserman Schultz once and for all. Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to see you guys.
Hey, it's been so long. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking it's very weird that I'm having you on and you're running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I'm not running against Debbie Wasserman Schultz. You're running against Debbie. She is a gift that just keeps giving to every district, isn't she?
She is. Do you remember when you were running last time and we were like double teaming her in Miramar when they were coming in? She's hated me ever since then. She's had this thing about like she's so angry, and I'm like,
she hates you. She hates you specifically because you dared to challenge Alcee. Yeah. When he was still alive. See, you didn't wait your turn as you should have known to do, right? So that's where I think it started with her, with you.
Well, that's the excuse, but I think at the end of the day, I think she understood the tea leaves, right? The tea leaves were everybody wants something new and that's real to them. And this excuse of seniority and not really producing for the people or even empathizing with them, I think that's the bigger issue. You have someone who feels like they're entitled to be in Congress. This is my job. I've been there. And no matter who it is, I should be. No matter who the district is, we need to be there. And I think that's the bigger problem that we have right now.
Yeah. I think the big difference between Wasserman Schultz and a lot of other people that you've probably experienced being on the Hill with is that a lot of people want to be in positions of power. They want to be in positions of authority. What Debbie is unique to, unlike a lot of other people in the halls of Congress, is that she will step on anybody and she will throw anybody under the bus to maintain her position. And that is the real danger of what is happening right now, especially with what I believe is her responsibility for Florida becoming such almost a blood red state. I think she bears a significant amount of responsibility. And that's why this particular race, when everybody's noticing, why is she running in a predominantly Black and Hispanic district of which she has never represented before?
She doesn't live there.
No. And so I do think that is obviously a huge component here, but we have to get this out of the way. This is very important because this is also one of the reasons why you're having a blackout, no pun intended, with people not wanting to cover this race. From your perspective, they're giving the attention to the other candidates in the race, but they don't want to give the attention to the person who has let's be honest, the best chance to stopping Wasserman Schultz. You've been a sitting Congresswoman for 3 terms, and you unfortunately did have to resign. So without there being any hoopla surrounding this, please explain to the audience the best way possible what actually went down and why you had to resign.
Well, the simplest thing I could say is that when it came to the ethics investigation, it became very clear that they weren't interested in having a fair process. A fair process would mean that we would have enough time to prepare. A fair process is we could turn in documents. And what really showed it was during the hearing, which they've only had 3 hearings since Congress has ever been there, 3 public hearings, and they have been with all Black members, me, Maxine Waters, and John Conyers. Yep, only. Yeah, and so the CBC, the Congressional Black Caucus, actually wrote ethics a letter saying that this is more of a public shaming and embarrassment that you utilize only to Black members. And I mean, once we saw that and their commitment to that and how they were just so focused on doing this before the election, it became very clear that this was less about justice and this was more about a seat, a congressional seat.
She
But we
knew it was
knew.
coming.
Yeah, she
knew.
did know. So we knew probably, I mean, right after the president was elected, we knew very shortly after when he asked the governor of Texas that we were going to be consolidated also, like there were going to be seats in Florida. But we also knew because she would say all kinds of vile things about the governor and all kinds of people and just the actions that she was going to be on the chopping block along with other people. So we knew that, she knew that. And that's when she started to aggressively attack me and do things under the cloak and like come after me. But, you know, when she was doing all this, my whole take on it was, you know, you've been in Congress for a long time and you play these games. And this is the same person who stole a presidential primary from Bernie. So someone to this caliber thinks that they are a god. They think they deserve to be there. So I knew nothing was off limits, but never did I think that she would go to this extent in creating all of these issues and even pulling all the clout she claims to go there. But I think the biggest thing that we have noticed is everywhere I go in the district, they're like, what happened was truly unfair. In my situation, the state of Florida, they never even named me in the situation. They said they made a clerical error and they've been dealing with the company since then. And they made us aware, made the company aware 4 years later about this clerical error, and it was resolved in mediation. And so now for us to be here and they're trying to rebirth this as an issue or something real, I mean, I think that's like the most egregious part of it. It's like, okay, if they didn't find it there, they said it was a clerical error. How are you now trying to say that I was involved in something like that when, you know, it's been there? But I think the biggest thing about this whole thing that everybody can see the injustice. And right after she announced that she was running in the district, that I think was District 20's aha moment. You know,
Yeah.
that's when they said, oh, we've been here before. In 92, Alcee Hastings went through a similar situation when they created these Black access districts and they accused him of bribery. And they also put somebody else in the race. And this was drawn to be a Black seat. Back then, Lois was the one. Lois Frankel actually ran for the Black access districts.
Okay.
And at that time, when she ran in 92, she ran with the collective of people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, pushing her to run and try to take over this district that was actually drawn as a Black access. Now, it's important why people know why. So the history of the district is Black access because historically this district has been prevented from actually voting, the Black people in the district. We have Sistrunk, which is a major area. Sistrunk actually was one of our most productive, kind of like a Black Wall Street. And it was actually burnt down by a group of white people in Fort Lauderdale who felt like Black people should not have access. Then there were the poll tax. Even as early, because I go to these churches all the time, they talked about how they had to have meetings in the church about how can they vote, how to prepare for voting, because there was constant suppression. We also saw the similar activity in Palm Beach, which used to connect my district. And over there, they had the Sticks, and the Sticks went through the same thing. It was a Black blooming Black class of people who were working to build Palm Beach. That also was burnt down. So because the country felt, and this is not Democrat, Republican, this is everyone. It was bipartisan. They felt, well, we have to remediate this wrong. And that's where we had Black access for the first time in 1992. And we saw this activity again. So here we are. Same thing, the same game again. Let's try and push an indictment and say there was illegality and put somebody else into the race and say they're more qualified, which is the biggest insult you can say to anybody is that your candidate from outside is more qualified than anybody who's lived in the district. And so I'll be quite honest with you. A lot of Black people feel like what the real message is she's trying to say is that you can't govern yourself. I can do it for you. And that is the most offensive.
Oh, I think that it's more than that. I think that her running in your district is her really telling the Black community how little she thinks of it. And the reason I'm saying that is she actually feels that she has a better chance of buying your district than running a fair fight in the district she's in. That's how little she thinks of the Black community. And it's infuriating to me. And I saw it when I was running. The way that she bullies that community and threatens them, and they come out for her. And I do believe that her hands are all involved in the other primary candidates and their participation in this race.
Absolutely. If you look at it, I mean, I tried to even have a conversation with some of them. Like, I'm like, hey, look, if you raise about this amount of money, then you should be further along. Like, you got to kind of check your staff too and find out who they're working with. I think there's other things too that are more egregious. If you look at how much money, she has raised, she's raising that money to run in a competitive district, right? Yep. When you're in Congress, I'm in a safe district, so we usually don't raise that kind of money. We save that money and we actually donate to people who are in competitive districts so they can win for the majority. But what she did is took all that money for a competitive district and said, oh, okay, thanks you guys for all this money. And now we're going to come into this Black district where you can't raise it, and we're disadvantaged in raising that amount, and just come in and try to buy people. I say that because she's offered pastors like $10,000 for her support. Yes,
she does. And let me tell you, and those pastors will entertain whoever's willing to outbid her. Because if I had wanted to sit down and meet with them, which I wouldn't, I know that's how it goes. You just have to outbid her.
So it's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sheila, what I wanted to just reiterate, based on what happened and your resignation, the thing that really stuck out to me was that the media made it, and again, I fully believe Wasserman Schultz was behind this with her contacts within the media, was this idea, regardless of whether you did anything wrong, perhaps you did, but they were making it seem like you stole the money. And the way you put it out there like that, say, listen, technically it is your money. Your organization, what you did to supply the state with COVID-19 vaccines. Again, is it a clerical error? Sure. But the way they made it seem was that you were taking money that wasn't yours, that you stole the money. And I'm thinking, okay, if that's what they're doing, then they have an agenda. There is an agenda to get you out. There's no question.
Absolutely. So, they conveniently left out a lot of things when we had this conversation. I've done interviews, and on my interviews, they cut it all out, right? Which you probably know why. But at the end of the day, the contract was for $21 million. We had nurse practitioners. We actually facilitated all over the country all over the state of Florida, and we were paying staff. There was never an argument that the work wasn't done. Now, remember, the contract was $21 million. We were paid only $14 million. And then they came back to say that there was a mistake. The company was actually going back and forth to find out, hey, what happened to the rest of our payment? Why weren't people allowed to work? So there was an actual dispute. But if you hear how they were phrasing it, was as if there was money that was stolen or work that was never done. That was never the case. There was never an argument that my nurses and the doctors and all those people who were working, risking their lives, did the work. There was never an issue of if I actually did the work. And I think that's important. And even when I did interviews, conveniently, they cut that part out because at the end of the day, she has those relationships with the media. And who's going to actually support her in that media? She's called to put it out. If you look at the algorithms to put out that story, that was her. But the good thing about it is that in my district, District 20, we've gone through this before. The District 20, we are used to being marginalized. We are used to having these stories and opinions of us being pumped out by the same people. At the end of the day, I've said from the beginning, I've been innocent. The state didn't file anything. We never did anything wrong. I never did anything wrong. But that's not what they were spinning. And it's convenient how they spun it. And now if you look at the media, they keep trying to put her in the district as if she's the incumbent.
Right.
And they keep trying to elevate other people who they know that they can't beat her. But it's okay because we've led several grassroots movements and we've beat everybody. So at this point, even when I was leaving Congress, no one forced me to leave. I just realized, you know what, I'm not going to give you what you want because you would love to come to that conclusion and continue running that storyline. So instead, I will resign. And I took care of everything I need to take care of for my district. And I'm going to go home and tell everybody what's going on. And at the end of the day, I said, you know what? You could fight me here in Congress because you have these people and I'm sure you've done favors. But you know what? Come fight me in the streets. because in these streets, you can't win. You don't know how to
No.
fight in the streets. You don't know these people. And so
Nope.
every single day we're out here talking to the people who I grew up with, who loved me, who believed in me, and we see right through it. And it's interesting now because all of a sudden she wants to walk around with a Juneteenth shirt on. I mean,
Ugh.
please. I mean, no, I'm not like a Juneteenth shirt. You know what that is? I'm like, that's like a Rachel Dolezal. Do y'all know who Rachel
Yes,
Dolezal
of
is?
course.
Of
Yeah,
course.
so at this point, Debbie walking around here looking like Rachel Dolezal. Soon she's about to have box braids and cornrows, okay?
I was just
And
going to
she's about
say,
to be
with that
snapping
hair
her
of
fingers.
hers, like they were self-effacing.
Her hair, though, might qualify. I'm just saying, if that hair is
Absolutely not. Okay. I mean, walking at this point, and then it's so interesting because at events, they're like, oh, she's here. She's like, I love the people. And there was one that was a reggae festival. And they're like, well, who's your favorite artist? And that you're here. Well, I don't know anybody here. Well, you want to do a dance? Like, people are literally talking about, like, you are appropriating and making fun of our culture. We could represent ourselves. We can talk. We could do all this for ourselves. But the blinders of entitlement. This is about the blinders of entitlement. For you not to see that the community is actually laughing at you and not actually welcoming you is a blinder of entitlement. And I think at the end of the day, the storyline that they're pushing, that she's going to win this, the storyline that they're pushing, that Black people love it, it's going to actually fade and dissipate in their face. And they're going to understand what this is really about, is that we fought several years to get these seats in centuries. I've been representing this district for 5 years and went unopposed. Everybody who's trying to run in this seat would not be running but for the crisis and the scandal she created. And they know they can't beat me. So like I said, fight me in the streets. Let's talk. Don't tell me about what you want to do. Tell me what you have done. Because everybody who's in this race could have been helping the community. But to come out and try to say, you know, oh, I've never done anything for anybody, but I'm going to run, or to even come and say, I mean, let's talk about, I'll be very transparent with you. In DC, we have 15 community projects, right? Those are projects that we choose for our community. Debbie Wasserman Schultz has never done a project for a Black community. She's never done a project that actually went to a Black nonprofit. As a member, I have done several. I've done one that went to Compass, which is an organization for LGBTQ. I have done some that have gone to Jewish organizations to help everybody. I have done for Black, I have done for Hispanic, because that is our responsibility, to see everybody in their need and make sure they're getting the culturally competent care they need. But for you to sit there and, you know, when she represented her other district, that was majority minority also. You know, in fact, like, she has Miramar. And for you not to have done not one project that actually leans towards the people, even housing projects that deal with the people who need it the most, that speaks volumes. And then to come in and say, oh, well, I've done it for these organizations, it totally eliminates you trying to say that you see people for who they are. That's a total, you're ignoring the plight of Black people. You're ignoring the plight of Hispanic people. You're ignoring our plight, even of the LGBTQ community, because you are not acknowledging that the needs are different and must be met in different ways.
No, and the other thing that pisses me off the most about her, when she sits there and says, oh, I'm used to being in a majority minority district. No, you're not. Not the same. West Venezuela and a whole bunch of wealthy white Venezuelans does not a minority make, lady. Like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, that is not, you don't get to claim that. All right.
The
so
blinders, right?
I call it's caucasity, Sheila. It's a level of caucasity that knows no fucking bounds. But before, we're going to have to talk about the Israel situation. All right. And I know that in the past you have taken money from the Israel lobby. And I know that I have sent you a couple of texts, sort of like basically begging and pleading with you to like maybe revisit that concept. And I want to know where you are right now on that, in terms of what we should be giving to Israel, if anything, and if you are planning on taking money from that lobby.
Well, I'm not planning on taking any money from them, because I think that times have been shifting. You know, when I was in Congress, I was actually the ranking member as far as that's the Democratic lead when it comes to the Middle East. And my concern was about balance. You know, we have to be looking at balance. I did take several trips to Israel, and I did meet with Netanyahu. And my thing was, are you opening up the gates to make sure people are eating? And we actually went to Egypt and other places to make sure the food was coming in. And we worked with the World Kitchen and the World Bank. We worked with so many different organizations to make sure that those pipelines were there and to make sure that what we were getting reports on was actually accurate. And so I think that a lot of times there's an oversimplification about what's going on in the area. And I think that there's a lot of people who are saying, well, we need to do this, we need to do that. And I think at the end of the day, it is more than just a one-sided conversation. We need a whole plan, and we need to be working with the mediators more. A lot of the conversations I did have, it was with Egypt, it was with Qatar, it was with the surrounding Palestinian or Israeli not Israel, but the surrounding Arab nations who were helping support so we can come to a solution. And I think that's what we should be focused on right now, is where is the solution? Or we going to keep focusing on funding Israel for whatever outlet they're trying to get.
Well, that's what I want to know. Like for me, there needs to no longer be a Jewish ethno-state. It's done. The Zionism project has failed. It's failed. We're watching them commit a Holocaust. Okay, we're not going to pretend that that's not happening. And the only thing that allows them to do that is us. So what we're looking for are people to say, not on our dime anymore. No more. No.
I think it's a little, go ahead.
That's what we want.
Yeah, I think that it becomes a little complicated just because of the military interest also. But I do believe that right now we're all seeing, hey, we need to come to a place where we can all negotiate and figure out how to end this. Do I think the right person to negotiate with is Netanyahu? No. He has shown what his objective is. He has shown what he wants to do. And we're going to have to keep pulling in more people from around, especially when it comes to the Arab states, to figure out how we're going to get out of here. But I don't feel like enough attention is being put on that solution, because we keep talking about, do they need more money? Well, we have people who need help. We have people who actually need food. We have kids who need school.
Which is why we need to cut them off.
Right.
And we need Congress to be done giving them money.
Right.
And this is something you cannot dance around it. You're going to have to just take a fucking stand on it. And Debbie is going to ride that fucking AIPAC thing all the way to the end, and all their money. And it's like, you have nothing to lose by taking a stand on this.
Well, it's not even, I don't feel like I have anything to lose, and I do take a stand on it, but I feel like the stand is not enough. You know, when we are going forward, we need to have a plan. Remember, we talked about this also. What is the plan? Because if it's just anti-AIPAC, then what are we for? We still left everybody out there. We had several conversations about how much food is getting in. What is the real pathway to get in? I actually walked, and we were in Egypt, and we saw all the lines of these food trucks. And my question is, like, are we playing or what? Right? Why are they still out here? Why aren't they reaching the people? Why isn't life normalizing? What is the plan? Because as we go back, and I always have concerns when you have people who aren't suffering the most at the table going back and forth, because we will be arguing about one thing. Meanwhile, if you ask the people who are suffering it, they're like, we just want to go back to regular life. We want to build a future for our children. We want to be able to have a home where we have a family once again. We want to actually get past this trauma. But
and how does that happen? But there's only one way that happens. The only way that happens is to end the Zio state.
They have to be defanged.
They have to go away. They cannot coexist on this planet with the rest of us. They are incapable.
We have come to a point now where you've seen obviously what's happened in New York. You saw what happened in Denver. The tea leaves within the party, it's obvious. Now, granted, to be fair, South Florida is not Denver. It's not New York City. But at the same time, there is this fervor, this desire for change. That is, it takes courage. It does, because I know how powerful the Zionist lobby is in South Florida. I am a victim of it. I lost my job. I got fired because a very powerful person in the Israel lobby decided that they were going to make sure.
And Laura Loomer got him fired.
Laura was part of it. So I understand that there are always risks involved in speaking out, but there's also something to be said for recognizing this moment, understanding what it's going to take to go over the finish line. Because, you know, the one thing that, I mean, I think we could speak freely on here. I mean, we know Elijah. You know, I'm not going to say, you know, that he's like a bad person. I think he's extremely naive, but he's also somebody who is saying things regarding what's going on, almost like as a freewheeler, knowing that there is no real consequence. Because for anybody out there who thinks that Elijah Manley can win that race, he cannot. Like, let's just keep it straight.
And you're delusional, and you're causing the problem, which is starting to make me think. And Elijah, if you see this, I gave you the benefit of the doubt for fucking years. But it's starting to really scream like you and Dean are working with Debbie. That's what I'm getting. Like, that's the read I'm getting. And especially with how fast he blew through how much money?
And so let's just get this out there, because the latest FEC report has not been dropped yet. But if you're going based on exclusively what has gone on at the end of March, coming up till now, he has raised, again, maybe it's over $1 million now for all we know, but at that time, he had raised $750,000, and he was sitting on $20,000. Now, if you ask me, if that's how you're spending money to win a congressional race in a district you have never been a representative of in any capacity, that screams something's not on the level here.
Who's getting that money, Elijah? Who's getting that money? Because I don't understand where you spent that kind of money and you're not even having anything left over for get out the vote. What are you doing?
So I think that, I had a conversation when we met, and one of the things I said to him, I said, Elijah, $800,000 is a lot of money. You could literally mail out a mailer to every single one of the super voters for a fraction of that. You should have had 4 mailers. They should know your name and what you're for now. But your campaign is one where it's an anti-campaign. No one knows what you're for, and no one knows who you are. The only way they know you is that you run in every single election. Now, online, people may know what you reinvented yourself as,
Correct.
but the people who have seen you over and over, and he actually looked like he actually believed that this team is working for him. This team is not. This team is here to split the vote. This team is here to be anti. And I think one of the biggest thing that showed me that is when we had a debate. In a debate, you use every opportunity to highlight yourself and what you're doing for the people. That is one opportunity you have to talk to people. Instead, what we had going on was every time he answered it for the first 5 seconds, and then it turned back to her. When you turned it back to her, she's given more time to respond. So now you are actually creating a situation where you're amplifying her and not yourself. And I said, this strategy was designed to amplify her. But at the end of the day, correct. But at the end of the day, I think what makes the voters sick and tired is that they're sick and tired of these petty politics. Sick and tired of this fight between candidates, because at the end of the day, people are sitting there fighting each other, and this is a war. I mean, Elijah came after me, which I'm sure that was their point also, try and tear me down and lift him up. But at the end of the day, people do not care about petty politics. They don't want to hear politicians fighting themselves. What they want to hear and what they want to know is, what is your strategy and your plan to make my life better? And that's what I've been focusing on. Housing, people will say, we're going to build more housing. Building more housing is only a fraction of the solution. If you build more housing and I can't afford it, and what? We need to have a strategy. If you build more housing and you put me in it, but I ain't got a job, and what? I'll be evicted in a week. If right now in this economy, we've seen more people losing their jobs, especially when it comes to Black women. Right now, I think it was the first 3 months, we saw over 300,000 Black women who got fired. Now we're looking at 600,000 Black women who got fired. Do you know who are the wealthiest and most concentrated people in my district? Black women. That is a crisis in our district. We are not talking about that. I've been the only one sounding the alarm that we are actually suffering more economically than anybody else around us. And no one's trying to figure out what is really at the heart of it. So our district cannot come up if we are not attacking those issues. When we look at our seniors, we have so many seniors who work so hard to, attain the American dream, and now they can't afford to stay in their house. We have the largest numbers of hunger when it comes to our seniors. So sitting here and listening to all the bickering back and forth, at the end of the day, anybody care about them? No one cares about you guys fighting, because you're sitting there eating filet mignon with your campaign money, and Debbie's sitting there with her money too. No one cares about y'all. They want to know about solutions. They want to know if you see me. And that's where we have to be grounded in. And the more I think about, when I look at the victories that have been going on throughout the country, I mean, it says something very pivotal. Do you actually even feel us? When you see how people are starving and how they're suffering and how there's no opportunity, there's a sense of hopelessness. And what are we doing if we're not talking about how to actually make people feel better and attain jobs and live better? I think we're engaging in the stupidity that everybody hates, and they're going to continuously vote against it.
Good.
I want to conclude on what I think is a very important issue that is getting overlooked. What has often been what I consider to be the people who get kicked the hardest in communities of color are Haitians. You were the first Haitian American congressional representative. I don't think that's any small thing. It's all about representation. And as you were alluding to, this is something that is getting, or is attempting, Wasserman Schultz is attempting to whitewash it. I want people to hear, Jen does not like Megyn Kelly, and I'm sure you don't either.
Did you summon the Megalodon?
Yes.
Oh, you did. You summoned the Megalodon. Oh, yes. Bottom feeder, parasites off Trump's taint, 120 pounds of dense silicone, 3 pounds of blonde polyester fiber, and her behavior is easily excitable by the blood in the water, but only capable of feeding off other predators' prey. Okay. Thank you for reintroducing the Megalodon. Sorry.
Haiti is a country that, if anybody knows, has been through hell for centuries, starting with France. Obviously, we have not made it any better. And this is what Megyn Kelly had to say regarding the latest ruling against the Haitian people.
This has been going on for over a dozen years. Go home. Get out. We know our country's better than yours. That's because we filled it with our work ethic and our culture and our values. You being here only dilutes it for us, those who built it and live it.
Let her go.
And half of you people, more than half, you won't assimilate. We don't want you. We don't care if you're offended. Get out. Go home. Go back to fucking Haiti. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Like they don't want to live like Americans live. And this was supposed to be it was supposed to be temporary help. And it's turned into another backdoor way of allowing someone permanent residency here. And they take advantage of all of our public services. And
oh my God.
That's pretty bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh.
I mean, my attitude has always been, if you're bigoted, just let it fly.
Well, and I don't mind that. No, she should. Yeah. No, I'm glad she does.
People say what they want. But we want to hear from you because, this is something that, again, has been put into the media's, this has been put out there. Why is it so important that the representative has to be Black or has to be Haitian or something? Could you explain why representation for your community is important?
Well, I think the bigger thing that we have to address is the ignorance in the statement. I mean, the ignorance in the statement, even talking about who has built this country.
Wait, was it Megyn? Oh my God, I thought it was Megyn.
Megyn's ancestors didn't build not a damn thing. So we'll start and we'll leave it there. And I think also when you hear the foolishness and her not understanding the economic impact of we're looking at over 300,000 Haitian people who've been working in our system. In South Florida, we have over 120,000 who work in healthcare and throughout South Florida. So you want to do a mass exodus. Who is going to work and build up this economy? Haitians bring over $65 billion a year into the United States working those jobs. So I think it's interesting that she's allowing her ignorance to cloud the economic impact and destruction that would come to the country. And it's just true. And I think a lot of this pro-America, which means anti-everybody else, it actually is divisive. And that's what demoralizes everybody in the country. Because now you're trying to do this exclusivity that certain people belong here and they don't. My parents are from Haiti. I was born here. And the truth is, in South Florida, there's many people who are like me. And at the end of the day, it's important that we raise up our voices and we can actually control our own narratives, because our own narrative is that we are not on any kind of welfare, because Haitians don't even know welfare exists. There's no welfare in Haiti. Who teaches you about coming here and being on welfare? Right. It's just totally not true. We are hardworking people. We're educated people. And then to your question you asked me about representation matters, because when you don't represent yourself, you leave yourself open for exploitation. Before 1992, we weren't even able to really have a real voice at the ballot box. They did everything to suppress us.
Yep.
And because at the end of the day, we know what this is. Representation should be for every single person. Why should our representation be taken away from us because you have more money or you feel like you could have more money? We have to be able to talk about our own struggles and our own stories, and even look at the issues that we're talking about. We talked about 300,000 Black women being fired, 600,000 asked to date, silence from her. We talked about when it came to diversity, equity, and inclusion, who is actually being damaged? Our children, our families. Silence from those people who don't feel it. If you haven't walked in my shoes, you don't know what I suffer. You don't know what actually ignites me and what hurts me. And that's why our voices need to be heard. Because you know what? These fake voices, this phoniness, thinking that you can put on a Juneteenth shirt and walk around and try to kiss Black babies and think that you can empathize with my struggle is insulting. Not only is it insulting, it's actually very disrespectful. And that is why we're fighting. And another thing, when it comes to the Haitian situation, I just want to make it very clear that our district is almost 22% Haitian, 22%. And we have been fighting this fight for representation. And so we can have our voices heard. And so we can have a fair shot in this country. And so don't think you can have 2 weeks of pretending to be pro-Haiti and we won't see through it. Because when they first started coming for us in February, when they wanted to end TPS, where were you? It was me in my office who was in those churches where people were actually hiding, where they were trying to figure out where they were going to deliver babies because they thought that their TPS.
Uh-oh.
Did we lose her?
Uh-oh. We lost Sheila. Uh-oh. What happened?
Come back.
Come back, Sheila. Something happened. She lost battery. All right, take it out. I mean, maybe she'll come back. And I see what you guys are all saying. You want me to be, I'm not going to go. Look, it's like I gave her an opportunity. I gave her an opportunity to turn down the Israel-Zio lobby. I mean, I'd prefer it, but and at the end of the day,
she did say that she's not. She would not be taking it for the rest of the campaign. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, we need to. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what we need. You think her handlers pulled her? No, we know her handlers. Nobody pulled Sheila. Sheila doesn't get handled. Sheila is the handler. I assure you. Yeah, bring her back. Sheila, they said, Sheila, one of our people said that your handlers pulled you. I said, Sheila doesn't have handlers. I go, Sheila is the handler.
No, we don't have that over here. We don't do it like that. I always laugh because people, I don't think they understand our bloodline. We were the first country to actually overthrow the colonizers. Yes. And the story of how we did it in Haiti, we actually stayed quiet and pretended. And every night we had different drums and different ceremonies. And they thought that we were praying, but we were plotting. And one day we just poisoned the water. And after we poisoned the water of all the colonizers, we fought them and killed them. And so I always say to people, do not think that my demure attitude and my peaceful nature means that I'm not coming to cut off your head. I am.
Good.
Well, this is going to be a tough fight, obviously.
I mean, we support you. We support you. I obviously would like more assurances from you about the Zio situation. I'll work on that more. But at the end of the day, we have to do what we can to keep Debbie from winning that seat. And I believe that you are the best person to represent that district for a myriad of reasons, even though I am not happy about the Israel thing. Still best option. And Debbie has no right representing a district that is not her district.
She has no right representing anybody, but that's a whole other story. And listen, for those of you in the audience, and again, people are not going to be happy with your answer on Israel. It is what it is. And what I will say to that is, let's get through the next 7 weeks, and then we can revisit this issue. The priority right now is making sure that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is retired from public office for good. And this is our opportunity to do it. Do not lose sight of it. And yes, obviously DWS has done a lot of bad things, but let's focus on what we can right now.
Yes.
This election is on August 20th, I believe.
18th.
So even sooner. And early voting starts a week prior to that. And ballots go out, I believe, just after the 1st of August. So this is happening very quickly. This election is literally around the corner.
And what do we
So-
need to do? Like, what is the situation? Because I know that Elijah doesn't have a ground game.
Yeah.
I know that Debbie's ground game will be all her paid canvassers that have no real enthusiasm, because the truth is nobody really supports her. And so at the end of the day, we know what wins is the ground game. So, like, where are you with that?
We've always had our people on the ground, and we have our volunteers. We are actually, she has much more money than me, so she's
Of
going to try
course.
and do that. So we have to definitely raise, but we've always been on the ground. We've always been in churches and community centers, meeting with people. I think people are thinking this is a new election. They don't realize that I represented it for 5 years. For
Yes.
5 years, we've been on the ground. 5 years, we've been fighting. 5 years, we've been winning,
Yeah.
especially during the toughest time. So we're still on the ground. We're still talking to people, and we're still mobilizing. But because the media is painting this to be, oh, it's a new district, it's 80% my district, 80. And the other 20% is actually Jared's district. So thinking that you have 6 weeks to come in and, win an election, I think is going to be tough for anybody. But ours has always been grassroots. Jen, you know that. We're
I
on
do.
the ground. We have
I
a
do.
movement. We have our music. We are pulling everybody. Everybody votes. Everybody has to volunteer, get involved.
And the
we need
Haitians
more.
will feed you really well at their events.
Yes.
That's the other thing. And let me tell you, as somebody who has frequented many events, and I've got, like, nothing beats either it's the Haitian events and the Miramar Library during like election week. It's like the best food ever. And I know why.
The last election, we had a Haitian food truck, and we were able to feed people. It's just customary. It's like, part of it.
Yes.
But we still need volunteers. We need a lot of volunteers. We are building this movement. And, if you just look at the math, we are positioned to win. People know what this is.
Right.
And despite what anybody else wants to say in the media or even in DC, I tell them all, come over here, fight me in the streets. This is our territory. We have the home court advantage, and we ain't scared. We're ready for you.
Yeah, good. Because people don't understand that what they're seeing online, right? They're seeing certain people get media coverage or interviews. That does not translate into votes in a district. People don't understand that. It can translate into fundraising. That's true. It can. But that does not get you your votes. And that's what people do not understand. And we know that.
Again, this is not an urban city like a New York,
No.
like Chicago. This is
Nope.
different. This is mostly
Suburban sprawl.
That's mostly what it is.
Well, our district we have some suburban areas, but we have a lot of people who have come here from other areas, who
Yes.
are older, who want families. We have a lot of people, and I always say this to people also, they think because we have the most concentration of Democrats that we are more extreme, like on the left. I'm like, that's not the reality of our district. Our district actually has a lot of minorities, and those minorities are a little bit more conservative. They're concerned about attaining the American dream. Like, my kids, am I going to retire? I want health care. I want my kids to actually have a chance at moving forward, erasing their debt. They're concerned about the parents they're raising, also raising the children, like real people problems. I don't think they're looking at politics as I'm left or I'm right. They're like, I'm here and I'm starving. And I think as long as we keep talking to people about where they are, we win this election. This is not about politics. It's not about party. It's about them. And I think once we keep going back there, people will understand. But that's the biggest mistake I think people think is that, you're full of guys. You guys have a lot of Black people. You guys must be very, very to the left. That's not true.
No.
They just want help. They just want help.
Yeah.
Sheila, we'll leave on this note. Obviously, things have changed significantly since you ran the 3 times that you needed to in order to get in, and then you got in, and then things ultimately solidified themselves. But we're saying this to you as somebody, as a pair who have always stood by your side and have always backed you up. And obviously, a lot of people that were backing you up are not backing you up now. You're kind of in a unique situation where you get to find out who your real friends are, who your real supporters are, and we'll stick it out through that very tough period, which this is right now. And if you are fortunate enough to win the primary, do not forget what we said, particularly regarding Palestine, regarding the corporate influence. And let's just leave this here. And I'm going to say it while you're here. Guys, just remember, Sheila is in the Democratic Party and will serve the direction that the party is going. Whereas Wasserman Schultz does not give a damn what direction the party goes in. She goes wherever the corporate establishment and the Israel lobby wants her to go, and that's the end of it.
The bottom line is we're a channel that doesn't really love either of those things. And you know that, Sheila, and I get it. And this is where we're at. Guys, this is where we're at.
Yep.
So I understand that. And the truth is that Sheila is the better representative for what that district is.
Not even a question.
You guys in our chat do not understand. You have a whole bunch of old black church ladies, and they're not all hip and with it. Okay. So we need somebody who represents those people. So I hear you, revolutionary socialists. I'm with you. District 20 ain't that. So this is where we are.
And there's something I want to say also. The people of District 20 elected me and they put me there. I represent their needs.
Yes.
When it comes to certain terminology, I want everybody to know a lot of people in the district, English is not their first language.
Yep.
And we have to be very clear when we talk about different messaging. A lot of these people came from certain places. And so I think sometimes when we say things, I told people that I even told the Democratic Party, I said, we need to be talking about housing and helping people live better. Because when you say to certain communities, socialism, they're thinking communism. You got to talk about, this is about making you better. They don't give two craps about you. You need to eat. You need housing. We need to make sure that you're stable. Make it simple. All these big words that you're telling people, my district don't understand that. They don't know what you're talking about. Make it simple. This is about making your life better. You need stability. You need to eat. You need a family. We want to take you there. All this other stuff, these big words. One person said to me, what is fascist? What is fascism? I said, Lord, here we are. So make it plain for the people and we will win for the people consistently.
Sheila, on the final note before you go, so that people know that there is something tangible here. Can you just share with people, since District 20 is your district, even though it's 20% less, but this is your district, can you share with people what you've brought into the district in terms of tangible items that you can point to and say, I was your representative and I helped this community?
Yes.
It wasn't just a dog park. Like we actually did stuff here.
Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with the dog park.
No, or naming a post office, but you need to show that you've done something.
Yes.
What are just some tangible things you can point to as a representative and will continue to do?
So I think that we got to be realistic here. For the trajectory of my district, there is something wrong with using the money for a dog park because the people in my district are hungry. So we brought in over $930 million into the district to go towards economic corridors to make sure small businesses can actually sustain themselves by giving money to different colleges to show them how to do your books, how to grow, and how to get loans. We also bought over $583 million for housing. And we had a housing strategy, not just so we can build more houses, but we actually, in what we built in some of our apartment buildings, we actually had resource centers there. So while you're living in that apartment, you can actually be finding a job that can help you buy something. And while you're looking for something, if you're lucky enough to get to that place where you're looking to buy a house, we actually had programs in different cities where we actually gave you your down payment for your home. So now you can transition into the actual home. And let's say you're losing all your jobs like we see going on right now. We had agreements with other organizations where we gave them the money and they helped you with rental assistance. They helped you with your electricity bill. Because the truth is, with this attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, more than 1 out of 8 people will lose their job. And they shouldn't be forced to lose their house. They shouldn't be forced to lose everything because of that. And so we've been looking at homelessness at a bigger scale. How do we prevent? How do we actually transition them? We gave a lot of money when it came to Salvation Army. So people who were on the streets can transition, and then we transition them into apartments and we transition them into homes. That's the strategy. It's not enough to say Democratic talking points. Oh, I believe in housing. What are you going to do with the housing? How do you keep them? Oh, affordability. Screw affordability. How am I going to eat? Show me where the money's coming from. Do we have economic corridors in my area? And something I want to point out to you, in our district, we only have very few economic corridors because the representatives have been building economic corridors outside of the Black people in their areas. So when you talk about what it means to represent our district, if you cared about our district, why did you never build an economic corridor right here in the heart of our district? It's because you never wanted us to thrive. You wanted out there to thrive and for us to continue to come in and beg for representation. And we will never get out this place of where we stop begging for representation until we start having economic corridors. And that's why I said this is about an economic mobility issue. My goal is just for me to do what we have to do, and then retire with the people who actually believed in me. When I started, I actually was a single mother. I graduated from college, I had my daughter, and it was the toughest time of my life, and I had to get through law school, and it was this district. It was the old lady who babysat my baby so I can go to college. And after I did that and I worked, that's when I got hungry. That's when I got married, and I actually married my husband, who was a single father raising his son. And so when you look at it, this district made me, this district loved me. It was the Urban League who taught me how to apply to go to Howard University. So my heart, my job is for the district. It's not to foreign shop and because I think, hey, I can walk in here. It's because I need us to prosper. I need for at the end of the day, when we're all done, we can say we did this. You see Atlanta, we're nothing on Atlanta. Our kids here now are thriving, that we were actually able to take people who were talented and turn that talent into long-term careers and businesses. For us to take people who have vision and they can turn that into generational wealth. That is the vision. That is the goal. That's what we're fighting for, to make sure everybody's life, no matter where you start, you can all finish successfully.
On that note, Sheila, we wish you well, and this will be clipped in its entirety so everybody can hear. You can form your own opinion. But remember, the goal here is to continue to evolve in a direction that this country needs to go in. And if your objective, which is our objective, is to retire Wasserman Schultz, Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick is the best option to make sure that that happens. We appreciate you coming on. Links will be in the description, and we will be in touch.
Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
And all you guys in the chat, you want to give us such a hard time. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an attitude. And you all are the types of people that are the reason why they would end up stuck with Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
You have to be able to see the forest through the trees. And this is the one thing I'm going to leave David Hunter as sort of the leader of the pack to understand this reality. And so Chuck Daniels as well.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. So listen closely. Let me see if I could get his comment. We'll just leave it with this one. Here's all you need to know. Sheila takes money from the Israel lobby. She has been favorable to the Israel cause. She has met the devil himself, among other people. But here's what we can say definitively about somebody like Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick versus Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Sheila is a congresswoman. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a power player. And when you are a power player, you have a certain level of influence in politics. Remember, Debbie was very close recently. What was that she ran for that Rosa DeLauro was able to prevent her from getting?
Oh, Debbie wanted to be chair of appropriations.
Yeah. Do you understand?
And I am not a big fan of Rosa DeLauro. Okay.
No.
I met her. She was nice. Her husband's a Zio. I mean, look, whatever. But she sure is shit better than Debbie Wasserman Schultz as chair of appropriations.
Appropriations basically decides how our money gets spent. That's what it is. And she came pretty close. And when I heard about the people getting behind Wasserman Schultz, and I was, Jen, I don't know if I ever told you this. I was at Ken's house. And he got a call from her, and I was listening to the conversation.
You mean about this race?
Oh, when she was running against DeLauro. Listening to her get on him to make sure that everybody in Florida was getting behind her to become the appropriations chair. So I'm telling you now, the winds are moving in the direction that you need to go, where Sheila is not going to be an ardent supporter of Israel if the tea leaves say that this is over now.
Right. It isn't personal to her. Exactly.
Wasserman Schultz will go over the deep end with her, and she's a vindictive, disgusting human being. So do not forget that. I want every one of you to be strategic here. Jen pushed her. I wasn't going to interrupt. She pushed her about 3 or 4 times. She gave the standard Democratic liberal Zionist answer of it's complicated.
And we don't love it. And I'm not, look, I told Peter if Sheila were to take that stand, then I would go for her full-throated. I'm not. But I recognize that Sheila doesn't have a personal thing about it like Debbie does. So if the winds are shifting and her district isn't liking it, she'll go in that. She'll go in that. Debbie will never change on that or a lot of other things because she is just such a filthy whore. And Sheila's a typical politician. Okay. That's what she is. Sheila's a typical politician. Debbie
and
is an evil shrew.
Yes, and I want to answer this for Kathy. As much as I hate Debbie, the Palestinians are starving and dying right now. And will it change with Sheila? Here's the thing. Sheila is not influential enough to matter in terms of whether that's going to make a difference or not.
That's the truth.
And on top of everything else, this is South Florida. This is their haven. This is where they are.
So basically, this is what people don't understand. You could sit there and say, whatever about Sheila, but that's what they're wanting us to do. Debbie has people in that race. Debbie started the entire ethics investigation so that she could get Sheila on the ropes in this position because Debbie knew that her district was getting shifted. Debbie has people in that race. And yeah, I'm looking at Elijah right now. I am. And let me tell you, for months, I have been holding my tongue about Elijah. Okay? And we know him. And let me just say this. In the 2 times that I ran for Congress against the person who is apparently so evil, yeah, he didn't come out and help us once. And I have helped him, supported him, donated, hosted every single time he's run for everything.
Yep.
And he couldn't be bothered to even show up at all for us. So that shows you how much he really cares. He wants to be in that job more than he wants to do that job.
And as I
he also doesn't have money.
And I will say this to Gray Matters. I will say this to anybody who is in the chat supporting Elijah. I want you to ask yourself this question. I don't know how much he has raised now. I haven't looked at the full depth of all the money that he has received, but I know this much. I know that anybody that has raised $750,000 with 3 months to go before Election Day and is sitting on no money, something's wrong. Something is very fucking wrong, and somebody has to ask themselves why somebody who has run for office 6 times in a decade.
And he's only how old?
He's 28.
Yeah.
I think.
He's run because some people, and this is something that you guys need to understand about the political world, there are a lot of people that just like campaigning. They like the schmooze. They like the likes. They like getting donations.
Trump
and I want to tell you,
Jen, Trump is the best example of this. He just wants to be out there and people kissing his ass. He doesn't want to govern.
No. And people, and I'm sorry, but I feel like that about Elijah. Elijah likes the life. Elijah likes to be campaigning, a man about town, he knows all that. And by the way, and again, you could put up the AIPAC tracker that's green, 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 green. And I will tell you this, the only reason that he doesn't take AIPAC money is because they haven't offered it to him.
And it's not even a question of taking the AIPAC money. I have been very clear about this, and I want people to remember something. There is a way, and this has been going on in South Florida for a long time, there is a way that they wash this money so that you can't identify where it's actually coming from. There's a reason why. What was the law firm you worked for, Jen?
Me, Becker and Polikoff.
Becker and Polikoff. Look at the Becker. I'm not even going to tell you what they're into. Just look at the Becker and Polikoff
I know what they're into.
And the things that they do. Okay?
I know what they do.
You want to talk about how they protect people? They make John Morgan look like a saint. So again, this is the business of politics, and I am explaining this to people who don't know jack shit about South Florida politics. It is simply a warning. It is a fucking warning. Wasserman Schultz has to go. That is the end of the conversation. I don't want to hear nothing else about any other fucking reason because there isn't one.
And be aware, guys, that whole thing that's going on there is because of her. The whole thing is because of her. Correct. I would bet you that, look, at least 2 of those candidates are her dummy candidates. And I'm using the term dummy figuratively, let's just say for shits and giggles.
I think that righteous anger is necessary. And when you see, again, we just had somebody on here, ladies and gentlemen, who is a federally elected representative who has been in bed with the Israel lobby. You actually got to see one up close and personal. It's not pretty. Trust me, it isn't for us.
We don't like it. I would be, let me tell you something, and I've texted this to Sheila. A few days after October 7th in 23. All right, that's obviously a Simpsons joke.
It is.
Whatever.
So,
a few days after October 7th in 23, I texted Sheila. Okay. And I texted her a very lengthy text. And I know it's her cell phone. And I really explained to her the gravity of this situation and that I saw that she had an opportunity to like take a stand. And I have since then messaged a couple times at different places. And I feel like, even though I do not love her position on this, and I don't, I think I was clear. And I've been very clear about that. But I do find Sheila to be in the realm of reasonableness. Sheila works within the realm of reason. And when somebody works within the realm of reason and can be reasonable, that's better for everybody. And again, not to restate, and restating the obvious, she actually is a representative for that district. Debbie doesn't even live there.
Chuck, I don't agree. I don't think she's a Zionist. I don't think it's a career. It's
She's a politician.
But
Absolutely.
in terms of
Debbie's a Zionist.
Debbie's a Zionist. Like, that's not even a question.
Sheila is a politician.
The other thing, and Jen, can you explain this? When it comes to the corporatization of our politics, how many of these federally elected does anybody really think, and I mean this wholeheartedly, does anybody truly believe that Ted Cruz is a Zionist? He's a corporate whore. He doesn't fucking care.
Yeah,
it
no,
doesn't matter.
Yes, but Debbie is a real Zionist. But again, guys, we hate to sit here and talk about the lesser of two evils. We do. Yep. But this isn't even really that. Because the truth is, Sheila is not an evil. She's not. She's a pretty typical politician. And our bar is so fucking low.
That's a great comparison.
I believe so too. And again, I am telling you guys this because I know this, just because I know it. And it's hard to just say, believe me. Sheila is not evil. She's just not. She's just not. I've been I have had one-on-one time with her. I have spent time talking on the phone with her. I assure you, she's not evil.
No.
Debbie's evil.
And yes, Sheila talks like a politician.
I said she's a politician.
She's actually won, and she's actually won multiple races.
Guys, I am not singing praises. I have issues. You heard me say that. I am not. But at the end of the day, she is legitimately a much better representation of that district, which is 80% people of color.
And we'll be very clear about this. If Wasserman Schultz was not in this equation, I wouldn't say two words about Elijah. I wouldn't say anything. Because again, let them have at it. If they want, if he feels that he can win and the strategy he's using makes sense, that's his business. But this is a completely different animal. If anybody wants to know why the state of Florida went swing blue, this was a swinging blue state forever. And then Wasserman Schultz got into power. This is now a blood red state, and the trajectory could be measured based on everything that she's done. Not because a whole bunch of people moved to Florida during the pandemic and they were all voting Republican. That can play a role, but there is no question. If you look at the hierarchy within the Democratic Party, particularly in the state, whether it's Charlie Crist always running for office, whether it's bringing Alex Vindman into this fucking state to run for office and Angie Nixon not getting even a smidgen of time to present herself as a candidate, whether it's David Jolly, who was a congressional representative in the state of Florida for the Republican Party. And
we're going to have Angie on, actually. We're going to have Angie Nixon on. I have been coordinating with her people. So this is an example. And all of this Nikki Fried is the chair of the party. Nikki Fried is as big a Zionist. That's a whole other shit show.
As big of a Zionist as Debbie is.
Exactly.
So this is...
Get off of Sheila, people. She is not the problem.
Problem that's much bigger than that. So if you trust us, which I think you guys do, if you trust us, then trust us on this. We know this much. We know that the best opportunity, the best shot to make sure that Wasserman Schultz does not win that seat
is Sheila.
Period.
And this isn't, guys, and this is one of those things where, like, it isn't, we just know because we know strategy. We literally know personally all of these people. And this is how this is going to go.
Well, I'm not sure which president you want me to be, but I've got quite a few in my arsenal that I can always present if you need me to.
What I hate so much about that one is, despite the fact that I find him so grotesque, I hear it and it's still appealing. God.
Well, that's what I've
So
done.
ridiculous.
No matter how much you hate me, you'll still love me
Ugh.
all night long.
Ugh, gross.
Speaking of somebody that we should love, it is very difficult to imagine what it takes from an intestinal fortitude to spend your career in the military, no less, rise to the rank of major, and then decide, I have to make a stand against our broken government that is owned hook, line, and sinker by the state of Israel. And this gentleman's name, I want to make sure we get him right because he deserves our respect, full stop. This isn't,
and you guys have probably seen this, but it's definitely it's worth recirculating. Okay, this is a big deal.
Yeah. Mehdi, you know you love it when I charm you, darling. Don't you even think twice. But here is Major Watson at the steps of the Capitol the other day.
Air Force Major's broken ranks. He is on the steps of the Capitol right now with a sign that says impeach, convict, and remove, man. So this is an Air Force active duty field grade officer with 17 years in. He is risking fucking everything right now. He is risking his fucking freedom right now. I'm telling you.
Convict, remove.
Impeach, convict, remove. Impeach, convict, remove.
Impeach, convict, remove. Impeach, convict, remove.
I think the officers warned him that he can't be there. The officers warned him he cannot be there.
8647.
And they may be explaining to him what can happen to him. Hey, listen, he's standing 10 toes down on fucking business.
So people who don't know why, he is in an area that's referred to as the red zone in terms of First Amendment. So there are areas outside of the Capitol where where these people are all standing at the bottom of the steps is like the green zone. And where he is, and he knows this, it was very intentional. He purposefully went and stood in the red zone because he knew he was going to get arrested. So this was very purposeful. So just be aware of that.
He is standing 10 toes down on business right now, man.
Impeach, convict, remove. Impeach, convict, remove.
Right now, man. Officers are moving on him right now. I think he's about to be arrested. Listen, he's about to be arrested, guys. They're about to arrest this guy. They're about to arrest this guy, man. Respect for you, sir. We got respect for what you're doing. Hey, this major, he's being arrested. He's being arrested by the Secret Service right now, man. This man is risking everything. This is an active duty officer who has broken ranks. An active duty officer has broken ranks, man.
Who do you serve? Who do you protect? 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 Who do you serve? Who do you protect?
Hey, he's being escorted away, guys. He's being escorted away by Capitol Police. Capitol Police has just arrested an active duty Air Force major on the steps of the Capitol.
Who do you protect? Who do you serve? Who do you protect? Who do you serve?
An active duty major has just been arrested outside the United States Capitol.
Who do you serve?
Okay, so I see somebody saying, "Oh, I hope they don't demote him."
He's going to
get
prison.
11 worth.
Yeah.
He's like, this is a very big deal. It's a big deal, and extremely honorable man. And I'm blown away. Truthfully.
Now, we're not going to have the time to cover it tonight. I'm going to make an effort to cover it on Saturday. But Mike Preisner, who's somebody, he's Abby Martin's husband. We've been wanting to get him for a long time.
I love him.
He went on with Rania earlier, and there is an outsized effort that most people do not realize that is going on right now forgetting the term, but basically, if you will not serve, there does anybody in the chat forgive me?
What are you talking about? The conscientious objector hotline?
Conscientious objector. Yes, there is a massive movement going on in the country right now, and
Yes,
Chrysler is leading that effort.
absolutely.
So that's what's happening. You cannot look away from all of the things that are going on systemically all over the place.
No.
And not recognize that this is serious. And this is the same thing.
We have to address it because they've been asking us. So
yes, Oliver Larkin is fantastic.
We like him. We've had him on the show.
Yeah.
We support him totally. Here's the problem. Let's say hypothetically, he were able to take out Jared Moskowitz in the primary. He'll lose in the general to whoever the red person is in that district. That district is not a safe blue district.
No, this is now if you want to talk about the district, that is now the super wealthy Jewish Zionist district. This is a district, for anybody who knows anything about Florida, this is a district that runs from Boca Raton down A1A to Miami Beach.
It's like the most elitist. No, we've had Oliver on, and we're happy to have him on. If he wins the primary, I'm happy to have him on again. That's great.
Yeah.
We know that district, and if Moskowitz loses, the truth is that even if Moskowitz wins the primary, he very well could lose in the general anyway.
Correct. Which is why this is a completely different situation than the one that Sheila's involved in with Wasserman Schultz.
Yes.
Because again, the way I see it, it would be much better if Larkin were to win, because at least then he can go all out and continue to go all out on being free Palestine in an area that seethes.
Oh, I know. And that's fun. And that's fun. But my concern is I happen to suspect who the Republican will be that will run in that district. And said person is worse than Jared Moskowitz. Seriously. As a Zio, as a total piece of shit. Yes.
Nope,
Joe Kaufman. And so that is the person in my mind that will run for that seat, either against Moskowitz or against Larkin. And I assure you, as much, and let me tell you something, as much as I do not like this guy, okay? And I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of this guy. This is another one of those things where you people are going to have to just trust me on the fact that he's better than Kaufman would be. So again, it's where we are. We're just dealing with us in reality here.
Go Larkin.
Yes, I like him.
The thing about silence, which is the thing that happens so much. And somebody pointed out in the chat that Sheila doesn't know what's going on. Here's the thing. A lot of times they don't want to know what's going on. They would rather not know, because it's a pretty fucking evil world out there. And there's a lot of things that people just don't want to know about. You think anybody is going to be talking at length about what the hell would you call those things that are being set up in Gaza and the fences? Well, it's like trailer parks.
I call them concentration camps.
They're going to kill them. You think those things are going to have AC in them? No, they're going to be death traps.
Momo! Sorry.
One of our favorite people. Speaking of which, when you think about what's going on in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, this is how you make a statement. This is how you don't have to say any words. You just show people what's going on. There is a genocide going on in the Congo right now. And do you know why these places are always being genocided? Whether it is the Congo, whether it is Sudan, whether it is Gaza, whether it is pick your spot.
Well, wait, you know, there's a whole story behind this guy. You know that, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not, this guy, and for the life of me, I do not remember the name. There's a whole story as to who he is and what his purpose is at these games, and it isn't just one meme. Like, there's a whole thing about this guy. So unless you know it.
Colin, blow it up, please. The text.
But yeah, this guy has a very long history, and he literally goes to all these games, and he normally stands with his fist in the air for like this long duration of time. And it represents this historical thing. I don't know the details, but this motion that he's making is not what he's typically doing. So this is a big deal. That's my point. This guy is there for years.
During the Democratic Republic of Congo's match against Colombia, FIFA's broadcast cameras appeared to cut away from this moment due to rules around political gestures and protests. Since when does FIFA give a flying fuck about any type of political gestures, considering what they've done to Iran? Superfan Lumumba Via covered his mouth and mimicked a gun pointed at his head in a powerful symbolic protest against the silence surrounding the conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo.
It's a conflict? Oh, it's a conflict.
Yeah, it's conflict. Well, sorry, Sheila. It's
a conflict between people who want to commit a Holocaust and the rest of us. So that's the conflict. Okay.
One of the globe's most severe yet least covered humanitarian crises has displaced millions and claimed countless lives through violence and massacres. Lumumba Via used his influence and the World Cup stage to draw attention to a tragedy the world cannot afford to continue to ignore. This post on Instagram has almost 600,000 likes and has been viewed millions of
Guys,
times.
go look up him, Lumumba Vea. Is that what it is? Lumumba Vea. And everybody read the little story. It's a cool story about what he does, and he stands there, and Mehdi reminded me it has to do, he stands in the pose of their former leader that's like a famous statue. It's a pose, and he stands there for this time perfectly still, almost. It's just so much respect. So guys, that story was very cool. Whatever
and this
it is.
brings it full circle when you think about
that's what it is.
The ballsy. He's repping Patrice Lumumba, who was killed by the Belgian government.
His presence and how he was, became a fixture at these games is the revolutionary spirit that we're talking about. His presence at those games is him taking that stand against white colonialism. Yeah, that's what he's doing.
That's a really, again, it's a ballsy thing to do. And speaking of ballsy, whatever the intention of this Batman and Batgirl, flying through the air, or Spider-Man and Spider-Woman, I think is more appropriate. But this sort of death-defying decision to scale the Empire State Building is really unique, but it's the message that's being ignored, of course.
Details are coming out about the daredevil Empire State Building climbers. The couple faces multiple felony charges. They were seen leaving New York City court today. ABC's Melissa Don shares the details we learned from court.
Now, I don't know if you can make out exactly what the message is, and of course, they're deliberately making sure that you
when the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows. I would say the world knows peace, but I'm not sure what it is.
That is what it is.
Say peace. It's hard to read. The world knows peace.
Do you know who coined that?
It's something familiar. I know I did know this at one point.
That is Hendrix, ladies and gentlemen. That's Jimi Hendrix.
As in Jimmy?
That is Jimi Hendrix, correct.
After a daring climb up the spire of the Empire State Building, followed by a proposal.
This guy is getting down on a knee, perhaps.
Okay, that's fucking awesome. Oh
my gosh. Nearly 24 hours later, the couple faced a New York City judge. During their court appearance in New York City, Angela Nicolau and Ivan Kuznetsov did not enter a plea and are now out on supervised release. The 33 and 32-year-old, known for their daredevil stunts, seen walking out of court.
If you want to get married, they're doing it right there. Would this be more convenient?
Romance is dead. So look at that. Seriously? Scaled a building together, got arrested together.
And
that's not a good engagement story. I don't know what is.
And don't forget, Ivan is also showing how much more ballsy the Russians happen to be than the Americans tend to be. That's just how it is.
Sources tell ABC News the couple entered the Empire State Building Tuesday night with tickets and then secretly spent the night. According to court documents, the responding officer at the Empire State Building says he went up to the 104th floor and saw a lock on the security door had been broken.
Can you just stay where you are?
And then saw live video footage of the couple on the spire. Body camera from the NYPD shows officers taking the couple into custody. According to court documents, the building's antenna emits powerful radio frequencies that could cause harm to the human body. NYPD had to wait 30 minutes for the antenna to be powered down before they could get to the duo. The couple is facing multiple charges, including reckless endangerment and burglary.
The judge granted the daring duo. If you actually really wanted to help people, you would have just sent the fire department. You wouldn't call the police. And it makes sense that they would need the antenna turned down, even though the two people that were clinging to it, they were so fearful that they were able to get engaged. And yet the people that were all geared up had to wait a half an hour. Fucking pussies. Cops are such fucking pussies. If that had been the fire department, like they needed help, it would have already been handled. Abolition now. Abolition now.
And let's conclude with a good pussy story, seeing as how people really need to understand just why we do what we do.
What are we talking about? Do I have a graphic? What are we talking about?
We have, it's a Zio Hunter. It's how we always end. And I want to remind
Zio Hunter.
If you need a reminder of why we have to keep our foot on the accelerator, because Israel is on the run in more ways than one. The violent nature that these Zionists, these Israelis, are brought up with. You want to talk about violence against women and children? It isn't just with the guns. It's everything. So this was in Miami, and you have to know that when the Israelis are getting confronted in Miami, this is a place where they're not expecting to get confronted, and they're certainly not expecting to get confronted by an attractive woman. So here's what happened.
Hey, stupid. I say that again. Palestine is genocide. Okay. You're gonna find yourself out. Don't you go anyone in Miami. Don't let anyone in Miami.
Hold on. Kinkle. You look at that outfit and you get fake blonde is what first came to mind?
Even though her nips are like literally hanging out.
Hey, I like a nip. There's nothing wrong with a nip.
So trash. Every war is with Palestine. No, with Israel.
That's why you're kicked off right now.
What you say?
That's why you're fucked up right now.
What you say? Free what? Free what? Free Palestine. Palestine is free to Hey.
Why does stuff like that never happen in front of me?
And they'll never do it to a guy. They'll never do it to a guy, especially a guy that can physically defend himself.
But why does that never happen in front of me? Or to me?
On. Don't pull it.
Oh, I thought it was done. Sorry.
No, it was. I want to play it one more time.
Okay. Not the whole thing, right?
Now listen closely.
Kicked off right now.
What you say?
That's why you're fucked up right now.
What you say? Free what? Free what? Free Palestine. Palestine is free to.
Do you understand? That's, by the way, whether you believe it or not, whether anybody believes it or not, that's assault.
Oh, no. What do you mean whether you believe it or not? I can definitely attest that that is an assault. Spitting is an assault. That's an assault. It's an assault. That's actually considered a physical assault. Yes, it is.
Like how much of a truly, how much of a cock-sucking pussy do you have to be?
Well, yeah. All right.
And it wasn't one guy. It's a couple of guys ganging up on a woman.
Oh,
and she's saying free Palestine. And you know what? Thing you have to remember about Miami, especially Miami Beach and the nightlife, is that these are These are the rich people. These are people that are loaded, whether with legal or illegal means of making their money. He might have had on, one of the things, Jen, when I went to one of the real estate events in South Florida, you know what they do? They like to rock the lapel of the American flag and the Israel flag. That's a very common practice. They like to equate America and Israel as one and the same. And so as a result, she probably saw something and was like, free Palestine. Now, I don't know what country she's from. She's obviously not from the States, but she felt the need to say free Palestine. And her response was, bless you, I am going to chuck my alcoholic beverage in your face.
I will say that entire scene, outfits, attire, conversation, could be one of the most Miami things I've seen in a long time. So I'm telling everybody, like the Latino woman going out for the night, all done up, whatever, in an elevator with a couple of Zio turds. Like, I couldn't think of a more Miami scene.
If this was normal circumstances, they wouldn't have made it out of that elevator. They're very tough when they know the odds are in their favor. But when the odds are even, they're the biggest fucking cowards alive. And they know it.
We got to
But
wrap.
you just wait until they have nowhere to go. Because that time is coming a lot faster than they think. If you enjoyed this conversation tonight, which we hope you did, please go over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty, despite heavily suppressed, yet still growing channel. We got to give a big shout out to our super chatters tonight. You guys have been awesome. Jim Talib with the $5. Appreciate you. And Colin, can you please put in the chat somewhere? I know that I believe we had 2 new YouTube members that did not show up before. It did not show up here via the super chat. So if you could put that, we just want to give a shout out to them. Want to acknowledge who joined. Please do if you can. Libertarian Social Dem with the $1.99. Republicans hate the 14A and Democrats hate the 2A. People hate whatever isn't suiting them politically at that given moment most of the time. Easy peasy with the $5. This collab is a dream come true. Keaton and Russell are good people. We appreciate them being here. Libertarian Social Dem with the $1.99. Sid Rosenberg says Melat Kiros is cute, big. Yeah, he is a creep.
That's gross.
Sid Rosenberg is disgusting. And I worked with him. So I can attest stories that I can't share. But he is disgusting. Dark Matter Zombies with the $100 super chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I am not celebrating a genocidal country. I love my country, but free Palestine. Much love and many hugs to 4 kind, loving, and caring and intelligent people. We appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you so much. Seriously, that's it's very generous.
H299 with the $9.99 super sticker. Great to see you as always, my friend. We really appreciate you being here. Libertarian Social Dem with the $4.99. Oliver Larkin is better suited to primary Lois Frankel district. The new 25 is designed for affluent ultra-Zionist voters. This is not New York City type Jews. I definitely agree. This is more North Shore, Long Island, Bel Air, Los Angeles, Skokie, Illinois. That's who they are. That is the voting base of Jared Mauskowitz's district, unfortunately. Libertarian Social Dem with the $1.99. I feel CIA Bilzerian is psyop to make swine win. Can't say that for sure, but you may be onto something. Libertarian Social Dem with the $1.99 again. Correction, the late Mia Love of UT First Haitian Rep. Interesting. I did not know that. Or maybe it's Florida. It's probably Florida. That's what it was. So my apologies if I was wrong regarding the first Haitian rep, but definitely the first in Florida for sure. Mona Andrews, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Appreciate you being here. Gray Matters with the $4.99. She got kicked out of Congress. They wanted to prosecute her before she left. Back Manley. I hope our explanation was suffice enough. Appreciate your support. Gray Matters with the $4.99. Okay, I'll trust you guys. We appreciate it. we pride ourselves on being the most transparent channel out there. We may not be the biggest, we may not get everything, but we sure as hell are going to give you the truth. Libertarian Social Dem with the 199 one more time. Pete, please cover Fuentes shitting on rural America on Saturday. I will do my best to get to that. I will look into the story first. And Libertarian Social Dem with the 199. What a nightmare. Fine and Kaufman together. Here's hoping that that is not the case. Jen, final thoughts before we go?
I feel like it's a whirlwind. Like tonight was a whirlwind, you know? It's been a while since we've had like two back-to-back like that. It was kind of crazy.
And before we go, we have 3 new members that did not show up on the scroll. So let's give a big shout out to NPC24U becoming a YouTube member. Perry Randy Blue, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. And no name person 18, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. And remember, guys, we also have a Substack, substack.com/@Revolutionary Change. And we are on Rumble, Revolutionary Change, and Instagram, Revolutionary Change. We love you all. We appreciate you all. Thank you for the lively chat, the back and forth, and a whole lot more on Saturday. And
Free Palestine.
good night, guys.